Hey, everybody, this is Rod Meldrum, the Book of Mormon Evidence guy. This guy sitting here next to me really needs no
Yeah, who are you
introduction.
I'm like a bad penny. I just keep coming back.
Whoa, what's going on? This is Craig Dunn, everybody, and we're so grateful to have you back again. And we'll talk about our sponsors in just a couple of minutes, but I just want to jump right into this because I can't hardly wait. You've been busy the last 2 or 3 months since we last had our last 6 podcasts that we did with you.
Yeah.
What have you been doing?
Working on number 7.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, I've been preparing for this moment.
Brill loves me. He's like, remember he put ... Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it was ...
It's the forever sign.
Well, anyway, I'm one of those guys that I can't leave things alone. So I mentioned at one time about John C. Elliott. He was one of if we go back to that final podcast where I named all of the shooters that were in a firing squad outside the jail.
For those of you who don't know, basically because probably a lot of you have not first seen the first 6 episodes, but we covered a lot of things just in a brief nutshell. This is about the assassination of Joseph Smith, what happened primarily even outside of the jail, but what happened inside the jail as well. Who was involved? What was going on? What happened to these guys? Where did they go? And if you want to have the most deep dive, I think that's probably ever been done ever on Joseph Smith and the circumstances and the people involved in the martyrdom or the assassination of Joseph Smith, you got to go check those episodes out. But because of our viewers, we've actually been able to get additional information and more leads.
Lots more.
And you're like the FBI going on here,
Literally.
So, I've never been an FBI agent, but it's fun.
So,
it's more fun than I thought.
Well, he's gonna show you some stuff, folks. He's got documentation that's going to blow your mind as to really what happened. And so that's what. So in case you didn't know what's going on, go check those out if you haven't already, or you can just watch this and be a little bit, like.
And you can find them for those that are looking. Just go into the YouTube and go to playlists, and you'll see the Joseph Smith Martyrdom playlist. That's what he's referencing.
Yes, yeah, and you do your deep dive. It is phenomenal. But the thing I love about all this information though, Craig, is that this completely debunks the baloney that's been put out there about how the prophet Joseph Smith got killed.
I kind of like
somebody
baloney,
even made a
though.
movie.
I like baloney.
Well, baloney is pretty much, just garbage stuff. So,
well, I think it's.
I like baloney too. I grew up on baloney sandwiches.
I like people's opinions, but science is much better. I'm a scientist, so I'm that's what I do at the college.
Yeah.
But I like people's opinions, but when it comes to the real truth, I don't want opinions.
No.
I don't want theories.
Exactly.
I want what
documents.
really happened, and you can prove it by documents. Documents are like footprints, and people have a really hard time erasing them, especially when they get in print and they get put in a newspaper or they get put in an archive somewhere.
Yeah.
And then if you go back and know where, the big issue is finding them.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you can find the documents, then you can get a trail. And this is exactly what the FBI does.
Yeah.
They do this. They find a trail, and then some trails lead to a dead end, and so they try another trail, and all of a sudden another document appears, or another person's testimony appears, and it's like, oh, this changes our whole direction, and then you go that direction and tell it, and go as far as you can. So that's what we do in research in the college. That's what we do. That's what the FBI does in crime investigations.
We're going to show you this a little bit more in depth, but I mean this is from the FBI, folks.
And Brill will put all this into the program so everybody can see it. But what I've done today is I've decided to actually bring Brill and you, Rod, a copy of all the stuff I found in the last 2 months. So a lot of this I already knew, but some of it was fill in. Yeah. So we're going to go through this, and some of them are actually court appearances. But what I wanted to do is I figured out of the 4 shooters at the jail, the most information we had comes from the first one we talked about, which took up most of our time.
It did.
And that was John C. Elliott. So I thought, we've got to find more documents about John C. Elliott. So I started digging deeper and deeper. And actually, just this about 4 weeks ago,
Wow.
I actually decided to, and I was tipped off by somebody, and I'll tell you who it was, but he says, go back to Illinois into Champaign. Champaign, Illinois is right on the border of, it's right next to Lafayette, Indiana. And that's where the University of Illinois is. And if I thought, okay, I called back there and she says, yeah, we have all of the documents on this person that you're looking for. In fact, not only do we have documents, this man was a prolific letter writer every week because his family was in Connecticut and he was a sheriff out in Hancock County. And he would write home every week. So we have hundreds of letters of him writing home. Okay. And since he was the sheriff of Hancock County, we also have letters that he wrote to Governor Ford and back. So I have all that correspondence too. And that was all kept in the University of Illinois in Champaign, Illinois.
So
That's just amazing.
So
out of curiosity, how do they have these?
Well, like I said, I wouldn't have known that they had it if I wasn't tipped off by a guy by the name of Brian Andreessen, who's the head of the museum in Salt Lake City, the Church History Museum.
Oh, wow.
So he's the one that tipped me off to it. And I knew him in Illinois because before he came out here to be the curator of the museum out here, Church History Museum, he was over the Lincoln Memorial in Springfield. So he was in charge of that. And I had known him in Nauvoo. I remember talking to him in Nauvoo when he came up. So I thought, okay, so I found an article that he had written on this guy, this sheriff, and I thought, where did he get? He briefly mentioned some of the information I was looking for, including the jailbreak in Jacksonville. I thought, okay, I've got to have all the documents because obviously he has all the documents. So he told me where they were, and so I called back and I says, I want it all. I says, and it took me 3 weeks for them to get this stuff together and they sent the wrong stuff the first time and it was a big headache. And anyway, they finally gave it to me. So I've got over 100 pages in the back of this book.
Hold that up so people see.
So, so you might be able, it's all of this stuff in the back. These are all the letters.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just, how you doing, honey? How's my sister's doing? Blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden there'll be, oh, by the way, I arrested this guy this week and, he's in jail in Carthage and now I'm in trouble because I had to kill a guy and all this kind of stuff. So, so it's like, okay, I mean, that would kind of shock me if he was telling me that and I was 500 miles, 700 miles away from home.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh boy, I wonder if it's John C. So I started putting this stuff together. It's like, yeah, it's him. So, and then it gets worse. It gets worse because I find out now, does everybody know what a double agent is?
Yes.
They're spying for both sides.
Yeah. So if you're a double agent, you got to play both sides.
Yeah.
And you have to hide yourself that way so that you can continue to gain more information from the inside.
Yeah.
That was John C. Elliott. Okay, so we're going to find out, and you got to remember something. What he did wouldn't.
People need to know who is he a double agent for? Who are the two sides?
That's what we're going to get to as we start going through the documents.
This is going to be awesome.
So I'm just kind of throwing the stuff out there now that I researched. Yeah. But here's the thing: it wouldn't have worked today because we have the internet and everybody knows what's going on in Indiana. Everybody knows what's going on everywhere else. But you have to understand, back then, it's much easier to hide because, it was all just newspapers. Mm-hmm. If you didn't get written up in the newspaper or if you didn't go to court, nobody knew it didn't happen. Nobody knew what was going on. So that's why I had to dig up the court records and all the letters, personal letters and stuff to find out.
That's amazing. These
the
things
sequence
are still
and the
clear
truth.
all the way back from the 1840s.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So, and it took a lot of work. I've been working really hard on this stuff because I've been teaching school at the same time. So I went from anatomy to being an FBI agent and back. Okay.
Forensics one way to the other, right?
You are one weird guy. Anyway. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. So the first document, so let's grab it. We're going to walk everybody through this really slow.
Everybody, just so you know, we're this is the first time we've seen it too. So we may have questions along the way as well.
Yeah, and bring them up. You will too. So I want this to be more of like a conversation between the three of us as we're looking at these documents.
And we want to invite you as our listeners to kind of jump in there as well if you have comments or questions.
And Brill too. You're like a third. You're like it's like you're sitting right here too.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to be part of the panel.
This is an open question, right?
Yeah.
Like so, and then we'll have these for you to download too.
And if you guys have thoughts that I haven't thought of while I'm presenting these, I want that information too.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so number one, let's pull out document number one here. We all have a copy of this. So I'm going to start right back when Joseph was still in Missouri, because this is where the bad trail starts. And it doesn't end until 2 years after Joseph's dead. Jeez. So it's a trail that most people kind of, when Joseph's dead, that's where they kind of end the trail.
Yeah.
No, that's when the biggest part of the movie starts.
Wow.
So let's get going with this, okay?
Okay,
but before we go, just remember who John C. Elliott was. He was one of the 4 men who we know now by his own admittance. He was actually deputy marshal from not Hamilton, Illinois. I noticed I made the mistake in one of my podcasts a couple times. Brain ahead of your mouth, but or mouth ahead of your brain. Actually,
whichever one.
So it's Hamilton, Ohio, where he was the marshal. He was a U.S. Marshal. Okay, so then he came to Hancock County, right? So now, so I want to focus my trail. The whole story is going to focus around John C. Elliott, because we're going to learn a lot more about
and who he was associated with.
So he was one of the 4 shooters, remember?
Yes.
The squad that actually
in the last
shot
episode.
Joseph, in the last episode. So
So there's 4 shooters, and there was one guy that was the...
Yeah, so there was 4 shooters. I'll just name them for you. You can go back and look at the previous podcast. Yeah. So John Elliott is the one we spent the most time on.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and it was a name obscure name nobody didn't heard of. The other one was James Belton from North Carolina. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So he was the one who he split, and his deathbed repentance. Okay. So that was James Belton. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, you will find I had a comment to me of the book of what happened to the by Lundwall, the book by Lundwall.
What happened to the persecutors?
He's got a whole page about James Belton in there, which I find interesting. Okay, but anyway, so then the third one was Voorhees, and that's the lady that sent me.
Yep.
Without her, thank you. I think her name was Elizabeth, but I can't remember. But I'm going to mention her if she's at the expo.
No, that's Anyway.
But anyway, and she's in my phone, but I don't have my phone. So anyway, we traced him to California. Okay,
interesting.
And he lied his whole way through to his family about who he was, I thought was interesting, which makes sense.
Wow.
Okay, and then the last one was one of the indicted people named William Grover. And he's the one I told you where Stutzman took me out, and we found where he's buried in Warsaw. Okay, so those are the 4 shooters. But our story today is going to dive deeper into John C. Elliott, the undercover marshal who got the secret call to travel to Hancock County. Okay, so that's where we're going to go for, because the others
buckle up, everybody.
The others are a great story, but this one, he's the only one that stays in Hancock County and keeps causing more chaos. And so that's why it's
pretty
easier.
Brash. Really?
Yeah, he was. He wasn't Elliott. He was an idiot. Anyway, but he was a smart idiot. So let's put it that way.
He was a smart idiot. Okay.
Let's do it. So here we go. So the first document we have, and it'll be easy. We don't have to do a lot of detail reading here. So at the very top, Brill, I'm going to have you read.
Yeah.
The first paragraph says on April 6th. And by the way, we know what April 6th is about, right?
April 6th is...
April 6th is about the church when it was started.
Organized and so forth.
It's when Jesus... We're coming up on Easter.
Exactly.
Was resurrected, so it means freedom. Isn't it interesting that Joseph? Now read this, and you'll find that April 6th is more interesting than you think. So keep reading.
True. Okay,
read
so on April 6th, 1839. So let me bring this closer. While being transported from Liberty Jail to Columbia, Boone County, Missouri, for trial, Joseph Smith and 4 other prisoners escaped with the help of one of their guards. The escape occurred during a transfer, not from a location called Rothville.
Keep going.
After escaping, Smith and his companions fled to Quincy, Illinois, where they reunited with his family and other Latter-day Saints who had settled there.
Okay, so Joseph, escaped. Remember, he was held captive in Liberty Jail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a change of venue.
Yes.
Okay. Stephen Markham, the same guy who would be in that meeting the night before Joseph was killed in the hotel with the 23 delegates.
Yeah.
It's the same Stephen Markham that got him the change of venue. Because remember, he's a bodyguard of Joseph Smith. So he got the change of venue. So here's an earlier part of Stephen Markham's history. So he got a change of venue. They were on their way to Boone County, named after Daniel Boone's son, who lived in that county. Okay, and they're halfway, and it says Rothville there because the internet hasn't caught up to it yet, but there's now a sign the church has put in Rothville, Missouri, saying this is the place where Joseph was allowed to go free.
So was there a Rothville back then, or is it now?
It's still there now. Okay. Yeah, it's Rothville. Okay. It wasn't Rothville then, but that's the name of the place now. Yeah. And there's a big plaque right next to the cemetery in Rothville, Missouri, halfway to Boone County, from Gallatin to Boone County.
Yeah.
And there's a big sign that they put up. They put it up the same time that they put the Party P. Pratt one up in Richmond, Missouri. Yeah. So same time. So the internet hasn't caught up yet to the church's signage. Yeah, okay. Wow. So all I want to point out here is Joseph was released and got out of Missouri on, isn't it?
He was deliberately let go.
6th.
He was literally
he was let go.
He didn't break out or anything like that.
Because remember I told you that, and this was my theory in one of our previous podcasts, that Governor Boggs, who was holding Joseph, was just waiting for all the saints to leave Missouri. So he was holding Joseph as
collateral.
Yeah, as collateral until the saints were gone. And he was getting so much heat about it because everybody knew Joseph was not guilty. So he says, okay, change the venue. And then halfway out on the prairie, they said, Joseph, here's a horse. We're going to get drunk. You just take off and do where you want to do. And that's what happened. He was released. But it was April 6th. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting.
Okay.
Freedom.
Okay. And that might be a coincidence. I don't know. April 6th, freedom. But
yeah,
okay.
That's interesting.
Okay. So that's our first document. Joseph has now escaped and been let go out of Missouri. Okay. Okay. Let's put that one aside.
Okay.
Okay. So now we are going to go to our second document. You should all have a copy of that. Let me turn back to mine here. Let's see. Okay. So this one at the top should say Joseph Smith visiting Martin Van Buren, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Rod, I'm going to have you read this one now, just that paragraph at the top. Yeah, and keep note of the date here. Okay.
Okay. So this is,
go ahead.
Okay. So Joseph Smith visited President Martin Van Buren in Washington, D.C. on November 29th, 1839.
So how many months is that after his escape? April 6th to November is about...
So it's about 7-8 months.
7-8 months later. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
So Joseph Smith now is going to visit President Martin Van Buren in Washington, D.C. to seek redress for the persecution of Latter-day Saints in Missouri. Accompanied by Elias Higbee, Smith met with a reluctant Van Buren, who later allegedly stated, "Your cause is just, but I can do nothing for you."
Okay, so we all know that story. We talked about that the very first podcast that we did.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so the first thing, once Joseph got everybody settled into Nauvoo, because that took some time. Okay, Joseph actually didn't settle into Nauvoo until May the 10th. That's when he came up and found the old, what we call the homestead house now. That was the first day he walked in there.
But they had to drain the swamp.
Yeah, and they had to drain the swamps. Yeah, in fact, King Follett, by the way, was in charge of draining the swamps. Okay, he was a well digger, which makes total sense. That's how he died. At the end of his life.
Still that bridge that goes underneath.
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
Still there today.
Still there today.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so now we know that after he got everybody settled, he said, "Give me all the affidavits of all the money we lost in Missouri." So people then stacked up the paperwork. And once he had the paperwork, he left to Washington, D.C. And he got back there and, of course, talked to Martin Van Buren, and Martin Van Buren treated him insolently, right? Where I can't help you because there's an election coming up, 1840. 1840 election's coming up. And I can't do that, or I'm going to lose the votes in Missouri. And this is where Joseph said he'll never be reelected again on the way home, right? But Joseph actually stayed 6 weeks. He stayed 6 weeks because he was going to take it to Congress, and then I put a bill forward to reimburse the saints. Wow. So this is when he had his time in New York, roaming New York and stuff. So he went preaching while he was during the 6 weeks. Well, then finally after 6 weeks, he came back to talk to Martin Van Buren a second time. And he says, "I'm sorry, there's nothing. There's no point in staying here talking to me because I can't do anything for you." And that was the end of it. And then Joseph went back to Nauvoo. Okay. But isn't it interesting? Now, here's where it gets interesting. I find it interesting that the people in Missouri who tried to get Joseph back across extradition 3 different times, they weren't really interested in bringing him home until after he went and paraded all the atrocities of Missouri back in Washington, D.C. That's a key connection. Okay, the extraditions of trying to get him back across the border
Right.
didn't happen until after he had gone to Washington. And now the Missourians are going, he's showing our true face in Washington. Now we're upset. Now we do want him back.
Yeah.
You see the connection there? Why? Otherwise, why wouldn't
He's
they?
exposing
As soon as he exposed them. As soon as he had gone across the river, why wouldn't they say, okay, let's go get him now? Why would there be 18-month delay? Because he hadn't gone to Washington and displayed all of their, and now it's all in the newspapers everywhere. Saints want their money back. And when Joseph died in Carthage, those lawsuits were still in Washington, D.C. Still going on. Okay, so that's one connection. That's the first connection I want you to make. Okay.
Okay, that's the first meeting.
Okay, so let's put this away.
Okay.
Let's put that. So that's the document of going there. But look at the time span.
That's 1839.
So the time span
end
was
of 1839.
long time. Now that's just his visit with Martin Van Buren, not the first time they tried to get him back across the border.
Right.
You got to add that time into it too.
Yeah.
So now take the next document. This is the first extradition order.
Okay.
This is the first time they tried to get Joseph across the river. I'll read this one now. It's my turn. Okay.
Yep.
In late 1840. So now it's already been another year.
4 years gone past.
Yeah. So been almost another year. Lilburn Boggs, he's still the governor, requested that Illinois Thomas Carlin extradite Joseph Smith to Missouri to face charges related to the old 1838 Mormon War, including treason. So, okay, get Mr. Boggs. Why is there 18 months between when Joseph escaped and you wanting him back? Oh, is it because he went back to Washington and displayed all of the crimes of Missouri? Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep reading. This following Smith's escape from Missouri custody in April, we talked about that, April 1839.
Yep.
Although an arrest warrant was issued, the initial attempt was not immediately successful and the charges were later contested. That's because the people in Missouri made errors on the document to get him back across the river. So if you don't have your law stuff put together right, it's going to be thrown out.
There's holes in it, yeah.
Yeah, but it was still on hold, all right? Okay, now look at, this is interesting. So jump down just a little bit. It says legal basis there. Can you see that? I've got the context, the legal basis, right? Okay, context. Following the extermination order and imprisonment in Missouri, Joseph Smith fled to Illinois. Legal basis. Missouri officials sought to return Smith to stand trial for charges that were dismissed in August of 1839. So they want to bring the charges back. Okay, then look at the reissues.
This is right before the November thing.
Yeah.
Happened. Okay.
The warrant was reissued in June of 1841. So finally they corrected their paperwork, and now they've got the paperwork right. They sent it back, leading to an arrest. So they actually did arrest Joseph Smith in 1841. Now look at the judge who was over Joseph Smith's first case.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Stephen A. Douglas, the man who had run against Abraham Lincoln for president of the United States. He was an attorney. So he's the one who got Joseph off the first time. Stephen A. Douglas. Okay. He was a Democrat. Remember that Lincoln was a Whig, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So this was the first opportunity to pull Joseph back, and it failed. It didn't work. Because Stephen A. Douglas said, nope, sorry, this is an old case. It's too old. He's been here for how many months? Why didn't you bring this up? That was one of the arguments. How come you're bringing this up now? It's almost been 2 years. What's the deal? Okay. Well, they didn't want to say, well, he's given us a bad name in Washington. So it was over.
They just drummed it up.
So the charges were done. So the first extradition failed. Okay. So that's one attempt. Okay. We'll put that paper aside.
And that was again in, the warrant was issued in 1841. June of 1841. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to go to the next one. Okay, and I'm going to have Brill go back to this one now. We're going to have you read, Brill, this one. So this is it says following the May 1844 shooting. So go ahead and read.
Okay. So following May 1842 shooting of former Missouri Governor Lilburn W. Boggs, Missouri.
So remember the attempted assassination?
Yeah. They were trying to peg that on Joseph.
On Porter Rockwell, too.
On Porter Rockwell.
Okay, go ahead.
So Missouri authorities made a second high-profile attempt to extradite Joseph Smith, accusing of ordering the assassination.
Yep.
Based on affidavits from John C. Bennett.
Remember who John C. Bennett was?
I do remember.
The big apostate who...
Yes. Terrible apostate.
Okay.
Missouri requested Smith's return, leading to intense legal battles in Illinois during late 1842, which Smith ultimately avoided.
Okay, how did he avoid it? The judge names this was in Springfield. So this is where President Lincoln's wife, not yet president, he was a famous attorney in Springfield, right? He was starting to rise. His wife, Mary Lincoln, was in the courtroom when this happened. I looked that up too. Okay, so Mary actually talked to Joseph Smith. Abraham Lincoln's wife knew Joseph Smith. She was in the courtroom. And guess what the judge's name was? Pope. Judge Pope. And this is what happened. A guy from Missouri was in the courtroom trying to get Joseph across the river. Okay, and he started drinking in between the court sessions because he was being defeated. And when he came to the last time where the verdict was going to be issued, he threw up all over everybody. It's true. Oh my gosh. Okay, and so Joseph Smith's attorney says this is where we get the Missouri pukes from.
Really?
And John Pope thought that was such a crazy joke. He released Joseph Smith. He says, "You guys go home. I can't deal with an attorney who's drunk, so it's over."
Let me point out something, because when you go to Springfield and you go to the Lincoln's law
Memorial
offices there, right there.
Yep.
It's right on the corner. There's the big state houses right across the street from it, right there. And interesting, back in those days, they didn't have air conditioning. So what they had was they would have a big open place, and this is about maybe 4 or 5 stories, probably 4 stories tall. And so they'd have a big open area in the middle, and they would open up the windows in the bottom, and then the hot air would come through there and go up, and they would have the windows up at the top out, and it would kind of it would create at least some ventilation.
Some cycling, yeah.
It also caused it so that there's almost anything that was happening in either floor, you could hear it. So some of the proceedings that Joseph Smith was in, there is belief that Joseph Smith was in trial in a couple of cases there in those offices.
Well, he definitely was.
And that Abraham Lincoln and probably his wife would have been there too, and overhearing the proceedings going on, and a high probability that the two of them would have met at some point.
Yeah, and we can't put that together.
I haven't put that together yet.
Yeah.
That's the next job.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a tough one, because I know a lot. Andresen's been trying to do that for a long time. Although, when I was in Nauvoo, we would have a guy dressed up like Joseph Smith who was playing Joseph Smith in the pageant.
Yeah.
And then Andresen had sent somebody up from Springfield who was playing Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
And one day they both showed up at the pageant and sat together in the pageant. And I said, "See, they really did meet each other. There's Joseph Smith and Abraham Lincoln sitting right next to him, and they're both watching the Nauvoo pageant." I actually have a photograph of that. I'll have to bring it.
But the connection is real. Because
no, the connection is real. Now, and we can't place, "Hello, I'm Abraham Lincoln." But we do know this, that when the charter was made, just a year before this, in 1841, when Nauvoo got its charter, Abraham Lincoln voted in favor of the charter. Because he was a member of the legislature.
Yeah. And we also know later on that this must have piqued Lincoln's interest, because when he became president, he ultimately went to the Library of Congress and checked out the Book of Mormon. And right after he read the Book of Mormon, we pretty sure that happened, because he was known for dog-ear pages that were important to him. He dog-eared several of the pages in the beginning of the Book of Mormon, basically Second Nephi, that talk about this covenant on America.
Yeah, isn't that
and
awesome?
How God has this covenant and so forth. And it was right after that he did.
And it was right after that they say Lincoln got religious.
He did.
To get him to where he prayed before the Gettysburg.
Tim Ballard actually talks about that in the Lincoln
Isn't
Hypothesis.
it interesting that his name is Lincoln, because there's a link right back to
his Lincoln back
right?
to.
I also find that interesting about Mary Elizabeth Rollins Leitner. She's the light that lit up the story about the 4 shooters and the flash of light. I don't know. Maybe that's all. I'm sure that's just coincidence.
Here, just humor me for a second. So the Democrats and the Whigs.
Yeah.
Who were the Whigs?
The Whigs were
was the party, the precursor to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
In fact, Abraham Lincoln was the first elected Republican after the Republican Party was formed. Everybody before Lincoln was, if they were on that side of the aisle, was a Whig.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the Democrats and the Whigs. Then it became the Democrats and the Republicans, and today I'm not sure what it is.
And I just wanted to highlight that because I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, our audiences, they're really smart, but just in case we may have forgotten,
Yeah.
I know.
So
I always confuse
Lincoln
them.
was the first Republican
Okay.
president. Okay,
Yep.
so we got this. So extradition.
Who, by the way, freed the was responsible to the largest part for freeing the slaves.
Oh, absolutely.
It's funny how
absolutely
that's gotten completely backwards now. But anyway,
And I think the founding fathers had to leave it in there because
yeah.
otherwise they wouldn't have signed the Constitution. So
Right.
it was a deficit that remained, and somebody had to figure it out eventually. And Lincoln was the one, unfortunately, who had to solve the problem.
And if you want to have a more deep dive on that one, just go back about 4 or 5 podcasts ago with Chuck Castleberry, who went into all the details about the 3/5 clause and all that kind of stuff, and what was really going on with slavery.
Person clause.
And all that kind of stuff, and why they did that, and was that something to hurt the black vote or whatever? Was it actually something to anyway? It was to save the black vote, actually.
Yeah.
So, but there's some fascinating stuff.
And,
You'll have to go back
and
and
Lincoln
look at
did a good job because now we have NBA basketball players signing $20 million contracts.
There you
in
go.
the United States.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just saying. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's read this. So this is the second attempt, right?
Yep.
Second attempt. So
The second
now
attempt are him going to
trying to get him back across. No.
Oh no. Okay.
Trying to get him back into Missouri. So they failed now 2 times.
Yep.
Remember, they arrested Puerto Rocco and St. Louis. He surrendered 22 weapons off his body.
Yes.
So the big mistake. You can be can be a super good shot, but not be too wise sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have gone across the river to Missouri to catch the boat. I would have just walked up to Nauvoo from right.
Yeah.
But he made that mistake and they caught him anyway. He probably thought they wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah.
But anyway, so 2 attempts failed, right?
Yep.
Okay. Put that one aside.
Okay. And that was, what was the date of that again? That was in May of 1842.
Yeah.
Okay. So
May of 1842.
So about halfway through May.
Interesting enough, just 1 month after John C. Bennett got excommunicated from the church. So he went over to Missouri and said, "Oh, I hate Joseph Smith. Now let's try and get it. Let's do it. Let's do it a second time. Oh, and look, Porter just happened to be here at the right time. Let's blame it on him. And let's say Joseph was the accessory to the plot.
He sent his
henchmen
out
back.
there to, yeah.
Okay. So that one failed. So far they've failed twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're not done. Bad men don't, they just keep going. They just keep doing it. So number 3, okay, is it your turn?
Yeah.
Whose turn is it? Your turn,
Did you read last time? Yeah, I think you did. Okay. In June of 1843, this is another year later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Missouri officials made a 3rd attempt to extradite Joseph Smith from Illinois on charges of treason related to the 1838 Mormon War.
Same old thing. Bringing
same
up
old
same
deal.
thing. Mm-hmm.
Following accusations by John C. Bennett, who now has been excommunicated.
So
now
time.
he's got an axe to grind down here.
Mm-hmm.
Smith was arrested near Dixon, Illinois. I've actually been there, Dixon. There's a bunch of Hopewell mound builder stuff there in Dixon.
There's the mound builder stuff. Now this is Joseph. Joseph was actually on vacation. So he went, his
Joseph Smith took
his
vacations.
sister-in-law,
Oh.
Emma's sister,
Mm-hmm.
lived in Dixon, Illinois.
Okay.
So they thought, Joseph's got so much pressure. He had to take vacations too.
Yeah.
So he decided to take a 1 week vacation to go up and see, Emma wanted to see her sister. So they went up there. And while he was there, 2 guys dressed up as missionaries, as Mormon missionaries, were from Missouri.
What the heck? They
Put pistols into his side when he walked out to bridle his horse. When Joseph walked out, put pistols right in his side. Says, "We got you now. We're taking you back to Missouri." Now, the sad part about this, and most people don't know this, is that after all this was over, and Joseph and Emma went back, a tornado hit Dixon, Illinois, right after Joseph got back to Nauvoo, and killed the sister Emma went to visit. They found a fence post right through her chest. So that's a story you don't hear about much, but that's what happened to Emma's sister, who was in Dixon.
Huh.
So, but anyway, while he was in Dixon, they arrested him. So keep reading.
There's not much of a town there either.
No, it's
even
small.
Today,
it's really small.
Kind of
little tiny
area.
You get what you'd expect, like a little tiny street with 4 or 5 buildings and a courthouse. Yeah, go ahead.
They do have a nice museum there for Hopewell mound builder stuff. Okay, so he arrested near Dixon, Illinois, but secured his release through a writ of habeas corpus.
We talked about that once.
Mm-hmm. From the Nauvoo Municipal Court ending formal Missouri extradition efforts. So that was the end of it.
Yeah. So here's what happened. So they tried to get him across the river. They actually had men across the river ready to meet and grab Joseph. They were going to take him across the river.
Yeah.
And so he claimed habeas corpus. Okay. And that means you got to bring the body to court, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the nearest court was in Dixon, but the judge was gone. So then they had to go to the next nearest court because the judge was out of town. And so they went to another little town. I can't remember the name of it, a little further east. And he had to stay overnight. He had guns pointed. Joseph had guns pointed at his head during the nighttime. And the next day is when they were going to take him back across the river.
So they were basically kidnapped him.
Yeah, they kidnapped him.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So one of the guys who worked for the judge, he said, we want to hear Joseph Smith preach. And the two guys that had him in incarceration, kidnapped him, they said, no, there's no time for a talk. We're taking him back today. Get in the coach. We're leaving. And the guy pulled out a rifle and he said, he's not going anywhere till after I've heard him preach. This is how we do things in Illinois, he said.
Oh my God.
And he must have been a big guy or something. So they cowed to it, and he talked about marriage. That was Joseph Smith came up and talked about the sanctity of marriage, and he spoke for 2.5 hours. So these guys were just, we got to go. No, we got more to talk about. Joseph was really good at, he would be really good at in Washington where they have to talk for hours to try and stall
but
stuff.
they're trying to do that now on the SAVE Act or whatever.
Yeah,
The
filibuster.
Yeah,
he'd be great. Joseph Smith would have been great at this. Okay, so he did that. And then he says, okay, now the talk's over, we're leaving. And by then, Hiram Smith, his brother, and Robert Foster, who later became an enemy of Joseph Smith, but and Wilson Law, who also became an enemy of Joseph Smith.
Oh my gosh.
And his brother William.
They
They rounded up horses to come and save Joseph Smith. So Joseph Smith is getting ready to be transferred over to Missouri after he'd given his talk, and here rides up 40 guys. Now, they're not the Nauvoo Legion. They were not in Nauvoo Legion uniform. They were just friends. They rode up and they said, Joseph says, I'm not going to Missouri today, boys. And they said, okay, where they were at the time, where's the nearest court? Oh, isn't that interesting? It happens to be Nauvoo. They were just north of Nauvoo at this time where you crossed it at the bridge where today is Keokuk.
Keokuk.
Or not Keokuk, but at
Madison.
Fort Madison.
Madison, yeah, that's right.
So they said, okay, now we got to go to Nauvoo. So now Joseph is in Nauvoo. Okay. And of course they have the trial in Nauvoo. But Joseph really pours it on.
But he also has a lot of enemies, though. He even there.
Oh, he does, but not at this time.
Yeah,
Not so much inside this time. Even William Law is still a friend.
Yeah.
So Joseph invites them over for dinner, the two guys that arrested him. And he's got big black bruises all over from having guns poked in him all this time.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
he's really hurting, right? And Joseph says, okay, the two guys that arrested him, he feeds them dinner at Emma's table just to pour it on. Right? You remember Joseph was always that way. He just helped his enemies. And I think it was because, it's like, this is how I can pour condemnation upon them by being kind to people, right?
Yeah.
Kind to your enemies.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. And then finally they had the court. And of course, Aaron Johnson and Daniel H. Wells, who were the guys in the court, said, no, this is an old thing from 2 years ago, an old case, and it's already been discharged once. So
that was
have fun, guys. We'll ship you back home, and it's all over.
Well, the thing that they're trying to pin him on was in 1838.
Yeah,
and this is 1842, so it's
43 now,
or 43. So it's 5 years later.
Yeah, exactly. So failed again. Number 3.
Yep.
Failed again.
Nope.
Okay.
Not happening.
So now they're going, all right. Guess who now Governor Boggs is not the governor anymore, by the way, when this third extradition happened. It wasn't Governor Boggs now. Okay. It was a guy by the name of Governor Reynolds.
Yeah.
And it was John C. Bennett had been specifically the apostate talking to now governor. He was dealing with Governor Reynolds to try and get Joseph back. when he went back,
did he just lose his election, or did
he just lost the election,
Yeah,
and
okay,
Reynolds
that's what
took
I thought,
over.
yeah.
Yeah, they probably, didn't really. We got kind of a bad rap in Washington because you were in office, so we won't vote you back. Plus,
gone.
people are already trying to shoot you anyway in your house, so maybe we shouldn't
Yeah.
have you. So he was a
Yeah.
governor.
Plus, the extermination order probably was not a.
Well, here's the
thing.
thing that a lot of people don't know about. Pull out the next document.
Okay.
So it's this one that just
Let's
has
check this
words
one
on
out.
it like this. Okay.
Truman Madsen.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
But the one part we're going to read is the Joseph Smith underneath. Okay. So this time
You're up.
I'll read it. This is my turn,
You're up.
right? The Lord once told me. Now this is Joseph Smith talking. I'm quoting Joseph Smith. The Lord once told me that what I asked for, I should have. That'd be nice, right? Kind of like a genie showing up and saying, "Yeah, here's your wish." So listen what he said. What Joseph Smith said. So he said, let's see.
I've been afraid.
Yeah. Oh, I have been afraid to ask God to kill my enemies, lest some of them should pre-adventure repent. But look what it says below that. I asked a short time since for the Lord to deliver me out of the hands of the governor of Missouri, and if needs be to accomplish it, to take him away. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
He might get his wish, right? And the next news that came pouring down from there was that Governor Reynolds had shot himself. The governor committed suicide.
Whoa, but how come?
Because the governor was depressed, and they said, if you read more about this story, he was depressed because everybody was giving him a hard time because he couldn't get Joseph back across the river to Missouri with this extradition. So he got and he was going to lose the election over it. Not even you can do this. You promised that this was one of his things he promised when he was running. I'm going to try to get Joseph back. Didn't happen
trial.
On the third failed attempt. Got so much pressure on top of him. And I think he had some other mental, probably depression issues and stuff.
Wow.
He shot himself after Joseph prayed to have the governor taken out. So this is why Joseph's saying, be careful what you, in other words, I'm paraphrasing Joseph Smith. Hey, be careful what you pray about because it might happen.
God's listening.
So now
God's
they don't
listening.
have a governor. For the first time, they don't have a governor who wants to bring Joseph back across the river.
Wow.
Are you with me now? So I'm putting these, and you can look at the dates. They're all together.
Yeah. It's all lining
Okay,
up.
so let's pull out the next document.
Okay, bro.
Go ahead, Brill. Yeah, so now you're Joseph Smith first wrote. Now this is interesting. So now, remember it's 1843. What happens in 1844? The election.
The election.
Okay, and this is late
So
1843.
So this is all context leading up into the election.
Okay. So they failed to get him across the river in Missouri 3 times, and the governor shot himself. So now they don't have somebody to try and extradite him. Now they got to figure out a different way to kill Joseph Smith, and this one happens in Illinois. Okay, so keep going.
Okay. Joseph Smith first wrote to Henry Clay on November 4th, 1843. In this letter, Smith inquired about Clay's rule of action toward the Latter-day Saints should he be elected president.
Remember when he wrote to all the presidents?
Yes, I remember that.
So keep the date in mind, November the 4th, 1843, okay? Remember the election would be in August, in 1844. Okay,
Correct.
keep going.
So reflecting Smith's efforts to engage with political figures during the 1844 presidential election cycle.
Okay, so just keep that date. So this is the first time that he wrote to all the men running for president.
Right.
Okay.
So he wasn't technically running yet.
No.
He was trying to.
He was trying to get the ideas of
yeah.
if they were going to support the saints. What are you going to do if you get elected? You're going to help us get.
Right.
You're going to help us get the money back.
Yeah.
On the court that's sitting back in Washington
Missouri,
D.C.
And this is all in the playlist. Like I remember going deep into this in our playlist.
So now I'm just putting. I'm remember how you told me. You says I told you I draw dots to dots.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing. I'm putting dates now, and why this happened, and then the next thing is a sequence of what that happened.
Right.
And
because
that's
after
what I'm
this, he goes.
I'm trying to prove the story that started clear back in Missouri until Carthage, Illinois. Okay.
Yeah,
so that's
it follows a logical sequence when you actually
it follows
put it all
a logical
together.
sequence. So let's put that document aside.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now we're going to grab the next document. Brilliant, it's up to you again.
Okay.
And now this story is going to go back to where I had the George Buchanan book with me. Remember the 2 guys that were kidnapped and taken across the river?
Yeah.
And then now John C. Elliott comes into the picture?
Yes.
Read.
Okay. Daniel and Philander Avery were kidnapped on December.
Now look at the date from when the time that he wrote Clay.
Right.
And this was just a month
Like
later.
a month later, yeah.
Okay, so keep going.
Yeah, so that was
Not even a month later.
November 4th, 1843 was when he wrote to Henry Clay.
Okay,
This
so
is
yeah,
December
this
2nd,
is
so
just
it's
barely,
just barely
barely
a
a
month.
month.
Yep.
Okay, keep
So
going.
Daniel and Philander Avery were kidnapped on December 2nd, 1843, near Bear Creek Precinct, Hancock County, Illinois. They were taken by a group led by Levi Williams.
There's your leader now.
And John
The same
Elliott.
guy who would orchestrate the shooting outside the jail was Levi Williams.
Yep.
Yes.
He was the key guy who Elliott worked with to kidnap the people across the river. Keep reading.
Yep. So Levi
accused of
Williams
horse
and John.
theft and held in Missouri prison before being released on December 25th,
Christmas
1843,
Day.
after a successful habeas corpus petition.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit of detail, and then we're going to move on to the next document.
Sheesh.
Okay, so the details are, it was a father and son that was Philander and his dad. They were
Daniel and
kidnapped. Okay, so
Philander.
it was father and son. Okay, they were taken across the river. Who were their captors? Levi Williams,
Williams.
and the guy that assisted,
John Elliott.
C. Elliott.
That's
And I'm going to
wild.
show you because I have the court case. Okay, now just hang on for a minute. Okay, so they get over. He says, so first of all,
the quick for people, because I'm not following this. So Daniel and Philander Avery, who are they?
they were two Mormons living in Warsaw.
Okay.
And now they're going to try and kidnap them and take them to Missouri. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Comes out at the
Okay.
court trial.
Can I put a little?
I have not heard these names before. That's why.
Yeah, you did. You did when
We-
I read into the George Q. Cannon book, when I was reading.
So
into
when
George
we
Q.
were in
Cannon.
the last episodes in the playlist,
Yeah.
Warsaw was the militia that went to basically go to Carthage and cause the ruckus,
Mhm.
and from there came the man that was Daniel. Oh my goodness, what was
William
his name?
Daniels.
William
Daniels,
Daniels,
who,
yeah.
who got conscripted into the Warsaw militia.
and then
And
he's
then
the
told
guy
the
that
story.
and he's the guy that told the story, and then later converted to the church because of what he had witnessed.
Remember
So
that?
all of this comes from Warsaw.
Yeah, I'm going to tie all this together with these documents. So okay, so it's
yeah.
December of 1843. So the year's almost
Yeah.
over, right? And remember, the third extradition attempt was just solved 4 or 5 months before this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but now they have no governor to try and
'Cause
get
he's
him
killed
back to the
himself.
Missouri side. So now Illinois has got to try and get Joseph to the Missouri side somehow.
Yes.
That's the point I wanted to make. And here's how they do it. Okay. So they kidnap two people who are Mormons that they can use as a bribe to exchange for Joseph Smith. Okay. So-
Okay.
so be
Because
very
Joseph
careful.
is a good guy and he doesn't want bad things to happen.
So
To his
he- so he-
people, he's
so
going to
he-
give
so he would
himself
let
up.
him up.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the plan. And I could show you more documents, but
Yeah.
I got to be brief. But anyway, that's the plan. So it was a father and son that were kidnapped. They pitted the father against the son and the son against the father by doing this. They held a gun. They says, you will admit that your father stole horses or we're going to kill you. So he says, yeah, he did. He stole the horses and they let him go, but they held dad until December 25th. Okay. And then, and more of it, there's more detail in the escape. It was really kind of they got, by this time they had attorneys going and everything else. And if you'll remember, if you read in my book, if you read my book, I talk where Joseph and Governor Ford are talking the day before Joseph. They had an interview in the upper room of the Carthage jail the day before Joseph was killed.
Yeah.
And I go for word what Ford, and we never did talk about that, what they said. But this kidnapping was discussed in there. So I can take it right back to Carthage jail, this kidnapping. But it's also in George Q. Cannon's book too. It's a common story about this kidnapping that happened just a few months before the martyrdom.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this was the ploy, this was the plan, and I'm going to go down to Elliott now because they arrested Elliott for this kidnapping.
Because he's one of the co-conspirators of the whole thing.
He was one of the guys. Now, so he had left. Remember, he had left Hamilton, Illinois. He was a deputy sheriff
Yeah.
there.
Right.
Yep.
So after the Missouri things failed, I believe that they sent for John C. Elliott in Hamilton, Ohio, and this is the reason why he showed up 6 months before the martyrdom. He was involved in the kidnapping. Remember, I told you it was a girlfriend. He did have a girlfriend from Adams County, but he hadn't even met her yet. So I retract my statement about him going down there because he had a girl, because I hadn't put the dates together.
Right.
Yeah. He hadn't met her yet. So why isn't now this is interesting. Listen very close to what I'm going to tell you here now. Why would John C. Elliott leave Hamilton, Illinois, just a couple of weeks after Joseph Smith sent Henry Clay the first letter about the presidential election?
Okay, hold on.
Okay, so Henry Clay gets this letter. Hey, what are you going to do about the Mormons? Right. Okay. Now Henry Clay's going, oh crap, do I have to deal with another third party the third time I'm running for office?
Right.
I'm going to nip this in the bit right from the start.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Do we have some fearful guy that can go down and we're going to cause an issue on the border of Illinois and we're going to kidnap a couple of people? Who do we have? John C. Elliott, you're the perfect person for this. And that's where the little sociogram with the FBI thing will come in here when we get to it, because I tie the names together.
Well, that makes sense, because someone comes in and starts asking questions. I know this one.
And you do know this one. Yes. Keep going, because you're understanding what I'm saying.
And so someone starts asking questions, and then they're like, okay, I don't like that this is happening. People associated around now start to say, who can we find to basically rough up?
Yeah,
and get people to shut up.
We've had 3 attempts. Let's try a fourth one, but it can't come from Missouri because the governor's dead. So we're going to try a fourth way, but we're going to have it be from that side of the river, the Mormon side of the river. And so let's kidnap 2 people.
And John C. Elliott, it is actually, he has the law with him, basically, right? Because he is
hence double agent.
He's a marshal. He's a marshal. He's not a double agent yet.
But yes.
Okay. But remember, nobody knows who he is. So he shows up in Hancock County and he says, I'm a school teacher. Remember? He doesn't show up and say, hey, I'm a marshal from Hancock. He says, I'm a school teacher. I'm here to teach school. No one's going to go, where are you from? Let's check and make sure your records are straight. No, they didn't do that in 18. Right. They do now, but they don't do it then. Yeah. Okay. So he shows up, he starts teaching school. But his real job of being there is to cause this kidnapping situation. So he gets Levi Williams, the man who would eventually be the guy who orchestrated the stuff at the jail with John C. Elliott.
Right.
They're friends. They're best buddies. And I can show that they only lived a mile away from each other. They're best buds in Warsaw. I have their houses a mile away from each other.
Wow.
Their farms were right up next to each other. So John C. Elliott and Levi Williams' farms were a foot apart. Fences. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay.
What a coincidence.
That was Levi Williams. He wasn't also a marshal, or he wasn't like a sub-marshal.
No, he's the head of the 59th Regiment of Hancock County.
Okay.
Which again,
so they're trying to get a couple of guys who have at least some potential credibility. Although John Elliott is basically saying,
these are important people. Yeah. And Levi Williams was a former Baptist minister. He also was the postmaster general. Okay.
So he was a man.
And all this is on a plaque. You can go right. I've been right to his farm, and I told you I went to his graveyard behind the house. It's all right there. Yep. Well, now I know though that John C. Elliott's farm was right next door. So it gets weirder. Okay. Okay. Boy. So those are the 2 guys that are going to try and do the 4th attempt. But how the 4th attempt is going to be made up by Joseph Smith. We're going to let him make the choice. We're going to steal 2 Mormons, take them across the river, and we're going to say, hey, Joseph,
give himself up.
We'll give up these 2 Mormons if you'll come back to Missouri. That was the plan.
Yeah.
A prisoner exchange.
Yeah. We'll see if you
love they escaped your and left, and I can't go into all the details, but they escaped, and then the son was free because he blamed his dad, and they let him go. So that way they could get an admittance that he stole the horses, right? Yeah, and that would give them the reason why they pulled him across the river to arrest him. Correct?
Right.
Horse thievery. You don't steal horses back in those days. Remember
it's the same as stealing a car.
Governor Ford's 2 sons were hung for horse thievery in Missouri. Remember I told you that?
I do remember that in the last episodes, yes.
So you don't steal horses, okay? Because that's your only means of transportation. So, but they escaped. The father did escape back, okay? Okay, now go to the next document. It's going to flesh this whole thing out. You ready?
Let's do it.
No, wait, they escaped because those 40 guys came up with their horses and so forth.
No,
right?
no. That's Joseph Smith during the third extradition.
Yeah.
Okay,
taking you back to another.
That's a separate
So
account.
they escaped.
Okay.
The one dad now who's being held, he escaped
Okay,
back
I was
across
conflating those two.
and came back to Nauvoo and told Joseph what had happened. They knew these guys had been kidnapped because they were gone. Their wives said, "Yeah, they kidnapped them and they're gone." Right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go to an official arrest warrant out for John C. Elliott for the kidnapping of Philander and his dad.
Averies, the Averies.
Okay, so that should be this one. It's now look at the date. When was the kidnapping? Go back and look at your previous paper.
The first part of December 2nd.
Okay, this is December 20th.
So wow, quick.
So it lines right up.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's now read. I have word for word the court case here of John C. Elliott. He's in court in Nauvoo. Remember Joseph Smith fetting at the table when he released him? Okay.
Yep.
So let's turn to the second page. It talks about it up here. It mentions affidavit heard a man by the name of, you see John Elliott's name there? John Elliott say that he was going to shoot some turkeys. So now they're trying to, the turkeys he was going to shoot were the two kidnapping guys that he, so I'm going turkey shooting. So he had to kind of disguise it. Okay. Then read down a little bit lower. It says, Elliott, if he had caught his turkey, okay. And he replied, yes, it was a Mormon elder. You see right there? So he caught his turkey. Your affidavit then asked who he was and said Daniel Avery. That was the dad. Okay. And your affidavit then asked and said Elliott had been done with, said Avery. And he said, we put onto a horse, tied his legs. This shows how they actually kidnapped him. Tied his legs, guarded him over to the river, from whence about 10 o'clock at night, we took him into Clark County, which is in Missouri, for stealing a horse 3 years ago. So that was the made up story.
Right.
Okay. So look down a little bit below. It says, said Elliott said he expected to get into difficulty on account of this scrap. But if any Mormon makes any business with me, I'll shoot him. This is Elliott talking.
Yeah.
So some guy's saying, I heard Elliott say this. And obviously, who they have on the stand? Daniel Avery, the dad.
Right.
He's telling the story about what Elliott did to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said on the 5th. So this is like literally 3 days after.
Yeah. So it's not. So you see, the dates are really tight. So now look down here. The court was held in a large room over the General Smith store. So the actual court was held where the Relief Society was in the top of the Red Brick store. See where remember that store was used for court. It was used for meetings, all kinds of stuff. That's where the court happened. So next time you're in the upper part of the Red Brick store, this is where John C. Elliott was in court after being arrested.
Wow.
Okay, so now go to the next page. I can't read the whole thing.
No, of course.
Okay, so let's go down to the second paragraph on this page and go about halfway down. He said, this is where he threatens Joseph Smith. Avery says he threatened Joseph Smith in front of me to kill Joseph Smith. Right here. He said that Joseph Smith was a bad man, that he would be taken, and I said they had tried all the 3 times before, and right? But had failed. So all the other 3 attempts had failed, right? He said they would not fail this time. So it was a 4th. So let's see. This was a 4th extradition attempt, but from the Illinois side.
From the Illinois side, yeah.
That a plan was in operation that would succeed, that he would be popped over. In other words, we would kill Joseph Smith this time. This time, when this 3rd, 4th attempt, we're going to take it and then trade for Joseph Smith.
Then he's not coming back.
And
They're
Joseph Smith probably
would
have given himself up for
the 2 guys.
For the 2 guys. I'll bet he would have. Okay, keep reading down now. So let's skip down where it says Daniel Avery dash.
Yep.
He's still on the stand, right? There was 9 of them that engaged in it. So there was 9 guys that did the kidnapping. Elliott was just one of them. Okay. 6 belonging to Illinois. Well, I wonder who that was. Levi Williams. All the bad guys that ended up in Carthage killing Joseph were the same guys doing this.
Right.
Okay. Now, not William Daniels. He wasn't in the story back then.
Okay.
To Illinois and to flee to Missouri. Okay. So here we have, now let's go down to the very bottom. The very bottom. The court declared that said John Elliott, you see that at the bottom?
Yeah.
Be held bail in the sum of $3,000.
Dang.
They weren't going to.
That's
huge.
a lot.
They were upset because he had threatened Joseph Smith's life. And that's what we read in the George Buchanan book. I just dug out the court documents.
Yeah.
Okay. So guess what they do? $3,000 to appear on the first day of sitting in the county of Carthage. Now he's going to go spend some time in Carthage jail. Remember I told you that Elliott the guy that killed Joseph actually did spend time in jail?
So he
I kind of knew this, but I didn't have all the details.
layout of the jail then. He knew all of that.
Everything.
Inside and outside what was going on.
Okay, and now here's the killer though. Look who, so the rest of this you can read. Robert D. Foster was one of the guys who was over the court. He became an enemy of Joseph Smith later on.
Yeah, it wasn't he a doctor.
He's a jurisprudent. It says right there, JP.
Yeah.
So he was a judge too.
Oh, he was a judge too.
Okay. Elected one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so there we have it. And then we know what if I didn't read the whole thing, but remember Joseph Smith said, I feel bad for him.
Yes.
I feel bad for him. And that's in here if we just want to have time, I'll read it all. He says, I feel bad for him. So let's let him go. If you can take him to Carthage if you want, but I'm going to let him go out of Nauvoo. I'm fine with it. He says, in fact, Elliott, I feel bad for you. Come over to my house. My wife will feed you dinner. And that's what happened on his way out of town. But he was still being held on bail for $3,000 in Carthage. And that's why they put him in jail in Carthage. But guess what? When he got out to Carthage, they just let him go. They dropped the bail, let him go. Don't worry about it. Because who was in charge of the kidnapping in the first place? It was people from...
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So he's done. So fourth extradition attempt failed. Correct?
Correct.
So it's like, man, what else do we have to do? We just keep screwing things up, right?
So they're the guys pulling the levers, but they're not quite pulling the levers in their favor.
Well, it's not quite because the Lord didn't want. It's not quite working out, Okay.
Well.
All right. Now
they're talking about mobs and everything in this document. So listen to that,
terrible.
folks. You can go to the document there.
Okay. Here, by the way, let me read the rest of this.
Yeah, I
so,
was just there.
So here's
there's a really good part
here's the other part. I might
Yeah.
as well read this. He says, this is Joseph Smith now. So he says, General Smith so clearly developed for while he abhorred depicted the fiendish crime that the culprit stood charged of, Elliott, with its true colors, he pitied the poor wretch that stood before him, and with feelings of commiseration, benevolence, and philanthropy, that describes Joseph Smith, withdrew his charge, wished it was in the power of the court that the culprit might be forgiven, promised to pay all the charges, and invited him over for dinner at the mansion house. So that's it right there. Can you read that?
Wow, yeah.
So I thought maybe I better read that. So fourth extradition failed again, right?
Yep.
Okay, next document. Pull up the next document.
Okay,
whose turn is it?
I'm not sure.
I think I've read like a couple times here.
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I'll go ahead. Okay, in February of 1844.
So how long ago was this after the kidnapping?
That was in December.
So just a month later.
Yeah.
A month.
A month later. Yeah.
month
Go
later.
ahead.
And only just a couple of months before
The martyrdom.
it's going to be killed.
Yeah.
Joseph Smith Jr., founder of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, declared his candidacy for president of the United States as an independent third-party candidate. His platform focused on religious freedom, the abolition of slavery, and federal intervention to protect minority rights, aiming to address the persecution his followers faced.
Okay, here's where I'm going to strike a strike right down the middle.
That's when it
fastball.
was.
You ready? At this point, Henry Clay and Joseph Smith, and I have the letters. I'm going to have to put the letters in here. They had written back and forth since the first time he got the letter.
Yeah.
Elliott's already in Illinois, right? Doing this thing. But they had written back and forth about 6 times, back and forth.
Who?
Joseph Smith and Henry
Henry
Clay
Clay.
are arguing
Clay,
now.
okay.
Now they're in a bitter arguments.
Okay.
And here's the reason. Henry Clay
Makes sense.
Henry Clay was forced to change his stance on a lot of things during the last. Joseph Smith was buying his stuff. He was going to vote for Clay a year earlier, but then knowing that he was going to be a candidate, but Clay started changing his political platform, and Joseph Smith said,
Doing this?
I don't like it. Yeah, he was flip-flopping.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, Henry Clay was the only Whig from the South. He was from Kentucky. Remember I told you he was from Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Whig. Most of the Democrats were from the South.
Right.
He was the only Whig candidate in the 1844. All the rest were Democrats except for Henry Clay. And remember, his deal was clear the way for Henry Clay. So in other words, do deals, whatever you have to do, but clear it out so I can be elected. This is my 3rd time running. I'm getting older, right? So I don't care what it takes. They're called CPACs today. I don't care. I don't care what it takes.
Fair.
But you know,
Yeah.
I'm going to be undercover, but you guys go out and do whatever you have to do to just get rid of people.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Buy them off. Tell them they can run next time, and I'll vote for them. Whatever.
Eliminate the competition.
So that's what it was. Clear the way for Henry Clay. That was his motto in all the papers. I have newspapers that say that on the front. Okay. So now he's running for president. So now what do you think Henry Clay's thinking? Not only is he arguing with me over, by the way, Henry Clay, the big arguments were 2 things: slavery, which it shows in here, and the other one was the annexation of Texas and Oregon as new states. That was the 2 big things on the docket coming up. And Henry Clay, Joseph Smith said they ought to be states. Texas ought to be annexed. Oregon ought to be annexed. Otherwise, Britain's going to take it over again. We need to have these states be part of the U.S. And then we need to go clear to California. Manifest Destiny is what it was called. And Joseph Smith, that was in his platform. Okay. Henry Clay said, nope, we need to stay just to where we are. We're not moving. So he disagreed. So him and Joseph fought over that.
Okay.
And then slavery, Joseph said, look, let's sell public lands, buy off the slaves and free them all. Henry Clay said, that'll start a civil war. So Joseph said, so what? Let's avoid a civil war and free the slaves now. They would have listened. There wouldn't have been a civil war. Okay. So Henry Clay, so they started to disagree and argue over all these things. And you can look at the letters. They're on the internet.
Those are available. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you suppose happens now when Clay finds out he's not only just not going to vote for Henry Clay, but he's now going to run as a 3rd party president?
Well, there's so much that's here. I mean, to add context, if you go back to the playlist where we did the last podcast, Joseph Smith, he had a majority hold in favor in Illinois.
Yeah, nine electoral votes. He held. He was going to decide, but the big thing, he wasn't going to probably win the presidency.
Right.
But the big thing is Henry Clay was going to lose because whenever you have a 3rd party,
splits that vote.
Splits the votes.
Exactly.
And right after Joseph's, he called it the Reform Party. Right after Joseph ran for president, you have to name your party. I'm the Reform Party. There was another one in Michigan called the Liberty Party, and theirs deals was just slavery only. They had one thing they were going with. Joseph had a whole list of things, and I'm going to present that at the expo on the platform. Okay, so you're with me
since
so
you mentioned
far.
let's throw that out there real quickly, because this is coming up here in about a month from now. We have the Friend Foundation Expo. It's on April the 16th, 17th, and 18th. You're going to be speaking on which of those days?
Twice. He's got me speaking twice.
Okay.
Thursday night.
Thursday? Okay.
Thursday night at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be bringing up Joseph Smith runs for president. So a lot of this stuff's going to be in there, but I got even more stuff. I'm not going to save it. I'm not going to tell you.
And it's so relevant. I mean, this is the 250th anniversary of the Constitution and the formation of this great country.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I chose to do it.
And it's revolutionary that before any of this anti-slavery stuff was coming to the forefront, Joseph Smith was pioneering this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was actually,
he was also pioneering about the Native Americans too.
I didn't come up with the topic. I was actually asked to do this.
Oh,
okay.
This stuff by the guy that schedules all of the.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah. He says let's do it, and I says I've got a lot more stuff, but I've condensed it into a PowerPoint that's just gonna. I think it's gonna blow people's minds. Yeah. Okay.
So you want to come to the conference, basically, to come see.
Oh, and then the other
Craig's,
one I'm going to talk about is the
whole
prophecies of Joseph Smith.
There you go.
And that would be Saturday.
That's Saturday. Okay, so Thursday and Saturday. So make sure you get your tickets now, because we're going to be running out of seats probably available on this thing. So get your tickets for that, and come and see Craig's full presentation. Then, and if you happen you can't see it, don't worry about that. We've got you covered on that one too. We got a streaming video platform, so we'll be recording that, and then you can actually watch it, without commercial interruptions.
And pictures tell 1,000 words. So some of the pictures I have in there are going to be. I'm not going to say anything else. Okay. Okay. All right. So.
Okay.
So now remember, this is what we talked about before. After the kidnapping failed attempt. So what does Elliott do? And this is the part I've got to pin down the exact dates on. He obviously leaves and goes back to Hamilton, Ohio. Okay, because now it's during school break. And so I know he didn't stay because we know he left to come back for the martyrdom in May, right? So sometime in there, I've got to find out the movement, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know that we obviously know he went back to Hamilton, Ohio after that failure. Okay. So then people forget about him. Yeah. He's out of the picture now, right? Okay. So now.
So he wasn't convicted or anything then?
No, remember they let him go after he got back to Carthage. They threw him in jail for a couple days, and the guy says, get out of here. Go back home. Now, I don't know how, and I'm still trying to figure out when he met his wife. That's going to be a tough one to do, but I can only pin that down to a certain period. But so the point I wanted to make is he did not go to meet his wife then, like I said before in the previous podcast. It wasn't a girl because he hadn't met her yet. I know that for sure. He went down there to be a part of this fourth attempt. Okay, and then he went back. But he knows Hancock County now, right? Left and right. He's been there. He's got a farm. He still owns a farm there. He didn't give up the farm. Yeah. He still owns a farm. He was a school teacher. Nobody knows he was a marshal. So now he goes back during the off season when there's no school, right? So I think he went back to Ohio now. He's back in Hamilton, Ohio. Okay. Then the martyrdom time comes up, and there's a secret national call to come and kill Joseph Smith. Remember, he already threatened Joseph Smith once when he was with the kidnapping situation, right?
Yep.
And this is this document now. So Brill had this on the screen, right, Brill? You had this on the screen. But now I've given you a beautiful document with the front of the actual real book by Stephen Cohn, 1898, okay? And I blew the pages up so you can see them. And we've already read this once, so I'm not going to go over it again. We already read this where John C. Elliott says he answered a national call to go to Nauvoo when he knew the two men now were in prison in jail, right? He thought, okay, now we've got them. They're confined in jail. Governor Ford, thank you very much, right? And now I'm going to be the shooter. So he went and had a special gun made. Remember that? We talked about this.
Yes,
you read this.
I do remember.
I think it's page 184 and 185. But now you have your own copies, okay?
Yeah, this is amazing.
So it talks about answering a national call. There it is on page 184. Okay. Hamilton, Ohio was a deputy U.S. Marshal, bold, courageous, brave man. Remember we talked about all that? Had a gun made and left immediately for. So now he's already threatened Joseph. He feels terrible because his being a part of the kidnapping issue didn't work. But boy, he's going to make it work this time. Not only that, I'm going to be one of the shooters who kills him at the top of the stairway if I have to, and if not, out in the yard if I have to, right?
One way or the other.
Yeah. So that's this whole story that we've already covered. People will have to go back to previous podcasts and read that, okay?
Yep.
So we already know John C. Elliott shows up again.
Right at the martyrdom.
Right at the martyrdom time, right? And now how many months have gone by? About 3 or 4 or 5 months. Yeah. Nobody knows who he is. He was a school teacher. He's coming back, teach school again. Right? Okay, so here we go.
Yeah.
And to be honest, and here's something else I found out that you remember Levi Williams? Mm-hmm. His farm was right next to John C. Elliott. He had a son during this time. Buddies. He had a baby. His wife had a baby. Guess what they named it? He named the boy Henry Clay.
Oh gosh.
After Henry Clay. So Levi Williams is working for Henry Clay.
Yeah.
Trying to get him elected.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, you wouldn't name your kid after Henry Clay was running for president.
Unless you were tight with him, yeah.
But he had the baby during this time.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
This is some pretty amazing sleuthing you've done here, my goodness.
I'm just trying to put dates together. Okay, now here we go. You're going to like this. So we all know what happened at the jail, right?
Yeah.
We all know what happened. We don't need to refresh the Joseph Smith martyrdom story. We all know that happened. Okay? I want you to pull out this document now. It's called Meet the Non-Latter-day Saint Sheriff Who Tried to Bring Joseph and Hiram Smith's Killers to Justice. Here's the guy. Okay? Now look.
What's the matter, Deming?
Minor Deming. So the martyrdom took place when? June
1844.
August the 4th was the election. not the national election,
The
election for county officials.
okay.
Remember that they have like the primaries before and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. So in August, just 2 months after that, is the election for county officials. This guy runs to get the Mormon vote, Minor Deming, saying, all the guys that killed Joseph Smith, I'm going after them all. Okay. Who was he before? Everybody knew who he was. Do you remember when they paraded Joseph Smith a couple days before the martyrdom around?
I remember.
And the Carthage Greys were all standing there, and it was insubordination, all that. This was the guy who took Joseph and Hiram, and as nice guy, made sure they were protected as they walked around the square. He was a brigadier general in the 59th Regiment under Levi Williams.
Oh.
So now Levi and him ain't very good friends.
They're not happy.
Because he gets elected. He wants the Mormon out. He says, I want to go. He was a good man. I want to go after these guys. I knew Joseph Smith. I knew they were not guilty of all this crap they were charged with in Carthage.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to run for sheriff. And he got elected by the Mormon vote. And his pledge was, I'm going to go after all. I know who all you guys are, and I'm going after you.
Wow.
Okay. So now this article was written by Brian Andresen, the guy that I met in Illinois, and his picture's in here. If you look at his picture.
Is this the guy that did that like vignette at Carthage jail?
Yeah. This is the kind of the same guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So we read here it talks about Minor Deming being a brigadier general right there on page 2, brigadier general, Illinois militia. You can see that. Okay. Here's Brian Andresen. Here's a picture of him. He's now the curator up at the museum in Salt Lake. This is his picture. Okay. This is the guy I knew who was running the Springfield museum.
See the guy that gave you the special clue?
This is I printed his stuff right off the internet. He's writing a book about Minor Deming. Okay. So it's about his introduction of writing the book about this courageous sheriff.
Wow.
Okay. So I thought, where is he getting all this stuff about Minor Deming? So then I found out that this is where I got in contact, and he says, yeah, it's all all his letters to his parents and everything are in the museum. In the history library back in Champaign, Illinois, University of Illinois. Yeah. So that's where he got this. So I thought, well, I want those documents. He told me where to go, and so I got the documents. That's all the back of this book. It's all the letters, and I had to read through them one by one. It took me forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's why you've been gone.
That's why I've been gone. Yeah. So months, I've been working. Okay.
Yep.
So you can read right in here. Although it would have, so this is where his picture is. Although it would have been much easier and safe for him to have stood on his hands and let things happen, he didn't. Andresen said he tried to preserve the rule of law, and he tried to make it possible for even Mormons to be treated by the law. He stood up and said, these people need to be prosecuted and held accountable, even though it's politically unpopular for me to say that. So, and I read that right in the documents. So he's actually taking his stuff in this article right out of what I have.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it says that Andresen was so taken by the story that he determined to one day research and write a biography on Minor Deming. So that's what this whole thing's about.
He's working on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's working on that. But here's the part that I thought was interesting. Look at this. Turn over to, let's see. It's right before the picture of the pepper box pistol. So it says Deming's prosecution. Yep. You got that one?
Persecution. Yep. There we go.
Okay. Right above that, there's about 3 little it says the sheriff also made dangerous. Remember that? You see that right there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is now Sheriff Deming pursuing people that killed Joseph Smith. He knows who they are.
He's going
That's the rough part. He knows who they are. Now, where was Sheriff Deming on the day of the actual martyrdom? I looked this up too in his notes, in his memoirs. Get this. His brother lived in Quincy. So he was there the day they paraded Joseph Smith around the square, but that was 2 days before the martyrdom, right?
Yes.
Okay, the day after that, the day after the parade around the square, his brother in Quincy got hit by lightning and got killed.
Whoa.
So he took off to go be down to the funeral.
Of his brother.
So that's why Minor Deming was not there to save Joseph Smith on the day of the martyrdom. He was down in Quincy with making funeral arrangements for his brother. And I only have that because he wrote his mom and said, Mom, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but Jed got hit by lightning and he's dead, and I'm down here burying him in Quincy. And that's how I know the date. It was literally the day after he paraded Joseph. So he wasn't there to help save Joseph Smith. He was in Quincy. Sad story, right?
Yeah.
The timing was off.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but look what he says here. The sheriff also made a dangerous 100-mile winter trip to Springfield to arrest defendant Jacob. Remember the senator I told you was one of the guys who was indicted for the murder of Joseph Smith? Jacob, his chair was right next to Abraham Lincoln's chair. Remember I told you that in the legislature?
Yeah.
So Minor Deming got on his horse, walked right in during the legislative session, and arrested Jacob C. Davis right in the middle of a legislative session. Okay. So, it gets way better than this. It gets way better than this.
Wow.
Davis claimed immunity while the Senate was in session. And Deming was reprimanded, criticized, and pressured to release Davis. So he didn't get his man. 100 miles to go grab his first guy, didn't get him, right? So
because he was actually in session.
Yeah. So, and by the way, here's another shocker. Go to the next page. You know the pistol that's in the museum in Salt Lake City, the original pepper box pistol?
Yeah.
It's not the real one.
I thought the real deal, huh?
No, now, so when he became curator of the museum, he says, we know where the real pistol is. The church has it too, but it's not the one you have. This was Minor Deming's gun.
Oh, really?
So the one that had been for so many years in the museum was really Minor Deming's gun.
Oh,
it was not. So so when you go down there, they've switched them now.
Oh, wow.
and the gun that I had made in Nauvoo was after this one, thinking this was it.
Yeah.
So my gun looks just like this. It's an exact replica, but it's really Minor Deming's gun. Yeah. I can't wait to tell Brian that's not really it. Anyway. So I'm still finding this stuff out. Okay. So now we know about Minor Deming and who he is, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So he's elected sheriff. He's now the sheriff of Hancock County, and he's trying to go after all these assailants and arrest them. Right. So he's probably not got very many good friends.
Probably not,
including Levi Williams and all those guys.
Outside of Nauvoo.
Yeah, and definitely not Elliott. Yeah. He's not, right? But he doesn't know who Elliott is yet. Because remember, he wasn't sheriff. Elliott was just one of the 4 shooters. He wasn't there. He was in Quincy. So he doesn't know who Elliott is, right? And Elliott knows the new sheriff doesn't know who he is. That's the rough part. Because guess what?
Oh, so this is going to get interesting.
He stays after the martyrdom.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
he's the only one of the 4 that did.
Yeah, because now he has met his wife. So he stays after. I got to stay here.
Was she from there?
She was from Adams County.
Okay, so she didn't
which is the county just south of Hancock County. Around. Yeah. So he had a farm there and everything. Yeah. So now he's met her. He's not married yet though. Okay. So he's met her. So now it's 1845. So now they're getting ready for the trial. They're getting ready for the trial, which happens in May of 1840. The trial for Joseph and Hyman's murders, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now this is where it gets really crazy. So John C. Elliott signs up to be a deputy sheriff underneath
Deming.
Underneath Deming. If you want to hide yourself from being one of the 4 shooters, how would you hide yourself?
Right next to him.
Becoming one of the guys that's trying to find you.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Yes.
So this is where he becomes a double agent. Okay. So now he's going, hey, let's go after the guys. Minor Deming comes up to Elliott. Let's go after the guys, the 4 shooters. Yeah. I know who they are, but he wasn't quite sure.
And he's kind of like,
we're going to find their names. But I know Jacob C. Davis. I know Levi Williams. We know those guys. They're already indicted, right? But this time. Yeah. But I know there's other guys, right? Because I had heard from William Daniels there were 4 shooters, and we got to find those guys. So this just kills me. So guess who is now the deputy underneath Deming? John C. Elliott.
This charged to go find the guys that killed him. And he's one of the 4 guys.
Yeah. And he can be sheriff because he was released on the previous kidnapping charge. So he's deputy sheriff.
See, this is what happens when you
don't have
computers and you can't track everything down because it's all,
So this just kills me. How can you be, and how do we know that? Let's go to the next court document.
Next court doc.
I'm going to prove to you that he was the deputy sheriff working underneath Minor Deming by this court document. Next document. What's the date?
Trial report about 12th of February, 1845.
And what does it
So
say?
not
State
quite
of
a- not
Illinois
quite a year.
versus who?
Elliott.
John C. Elliott. He gets arrested a second time by his own sheriff.
By Deming.
So this is crazy, right?
Oh, my
Okay,
gosh.
listen now. This is the fun part. We got to read this. Okay, so we're going to go down. It says, Mr. Editor. You see that? So this is the court hearing. This is how many months before the actual trial? Joseph Smith's trial. Trial was in May of 1845. This is February
So this is
12th.
3 months.
So that's in between
March,
the
April,
martyrdom
May.
and, right?
Yeah.
Almost 8 months after martyrdom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Elliott's parading himself around as I'm helping you look for these guys.
We're going to find these guys.
And maybe maybe on the side, I can not tell you, Minor Deming, that I'm going to cover up for several of these people.
Right.
I'm going to make sure you don't pursue the right guys, including me, who is one of them.
Mhm.
Correct? Double
Yeah.
agent.
Yep. Keep throwing
Hide
Deming.
yourself in
Keep throwing Deming off
hide
the scent.
yourself in
Yeah.
mid open sight.
Yeah.
This guy was not stupid. Okay. Okay, let's read down. Mr. Editor, a person named John C. Elliott had been lounging about our city for a time past on pretense of legal business. Because remember, he's the deputy sheriff.
Okay,
He's
now,
out
wait,
arresting other
now,
people.
where are you reading this from?
Right here.
2. There you go.
Yeah, so let's
Right.
let's just start up here.
Okay,
So it
good,
says,
good.
a person named John C. Elliott had been lounging about our city for a time on pretense of legal business, participating to sheriffality. I've never heard that there was a sheriffality. I've heard of physicality, but not sheriffality.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was acting as a deputy sheriff, doing his duty. Elliott, after he'd killed Joseph Smith to being one of the 4 shooters.
This is great because he's not only that, he's probably getting paid for this.
He's getting paid. His demeanor
Oh my
engendered
gosh.
suspicious feelings in the minds of the citizens towards him, which feelings were heightened by some knowledge of his previous conduct. What's the previous
somebody
conduct?
Figured
The
out that he
kidnappings.
kidnapped them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
At length, he was recognized as being one of the characters in the lamented murder of Joseph and Hiram Smith. People started figuring this guy out. His cover's
Wow.
been blown. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I wonder how his cover was blown.
So then it goes on to talk about the kidnapping of Avery when he
Okay.
was involved in it. It's like, were you that guy that did the kidnapping that we put in jail one time before he's
No.
Yeah, so you can read that because here's all the Mr. Avery stuff with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but
So
now
that
let's
goes
get
into
now let's get to page 3
3.
here. Yeah, well, look at this. This just oh my gosh, this is crazy. Question and answer. I've got every question and answer when Elliott was on the stand, right here. Everything.
There's some good stuff even before that, just a little bit.
But
Where he's
we probably won't have
talking
time to
about
read all
this.
of this.
Yeah,
But anyway, but it gets. I'm going to show you the one that really puts him down.
Yeah,
everybody
let's do
finds
that.
out who he is. Yeah, let's do that because time's moving on, right?
Mhm.
So let's go down. So I'm going to turn back to the next page here. The testimony of John C. Burns. You got it?
Mhm. John C. Burns.
John C.
examined?
Burns examined.
Yep.
So he's
Got it.
John C. Burns called to
Yes.
the stand. Listen to this. Okay, come down here where it says, Mr. Burns, what do you know about Mr. Elliott's being connected in the murder of Joseph and Hiram Smith? Answer, I cannot say that I know much about it, of anything about it. Question, has Mr. Elliott made any admissions to you at any time that he was engaged in the murder? Answer, I will relate the conversation I had upon this subject. The Marshal in Iowa, so they were all together talking across the river, and it happens to be Fort Madison, by the way, if you
Mhm.
look it up. The Marshal of Iowa and Mr. Elliott were at my house soon after the murder was committed. So listen to this. They're in Iowa, okay? I was explaining to the Marshal the manner of Joseph Smith's death, and I had understood it to be like this. I told him that in all probability he was dead when he fell out the window. Oh, isn't that what's been promulgated?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Probably,
look
yeah.
at this. Or was killed by the fall. I told him that 2 balls entered his body. Then Mr. Elliott speaks up. Listen to this. But Mr. Elliott immediately interrupted me, saying, I know you are mistaken. What a dummy. Starts giving himself up.
Yeah.
Placing great emphasis on the word no. I know said he was not dead when he fell out the window. Really? How do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep reading. This is right in court.
Wow.
Okay. And I know he was shot with 4 balls.
Or 5.
Or
4 or 5
5
balls. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Elliott saying, no, he wasn't dead.
Yeah.
And I know how many balls hit him too. He also said
Oh my
something about
gosh.
his attempting to clamber up against the well curb. So this is all coming out about their little conversation in Iowa, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing you don't do
Right
if you're
after
John
that.
C. Elliott is knowing that that Mr. Burns knows Mr. Avery,
Right.
Oh,
who was kidnapped.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, you know Mr. Avery? Oh, crap. I should have kept my mouth shut. Right?
You probably knew at that point.
Shoot, I'm
That's,
had,
oh
right?
my gosh. Yeah.
But what he said about it, I do not distinctly remember. So listen, he stated that he had left Illinois to evade the service of a writ, which we know he did,
Mm-hmm.
correct? Went back to Hamilton, said he expected and bid and would be issued against him for the murder. So they knew that he was being sought down. His manner caused the marshal to remark to me afterwards, that man knows something about the murder. You think? Because he was one of the 4 shooters. I think he knows a lot about the murder.
He knows a lot
Right?
about it. Yeah.
So this is what gave him up at the trial when now he's arrested for Joseph's murder. Okay.
This is the trial.
So now Minor
basically,
Deming
yeah.
gets called. Please come to Nauvoo. We have your deputy sheriff and he's under arrest. Really? For what? For murdering Joseph Smith. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me my
This whole
deputy
time.
sheriff, the guy that I'm was helping me seek out the guy, and he was one of them?
Imagine
And,
how he
and
felt.
if you read Deming's notes, it's like, okay, this is crazy, right? I'm not going to go through all the words. We can read the letters in there, but this is ridiculous. I got to go arrest my own deputy sheriff. How could I have been so blind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, double agent
Wow.
right there. Okay, so go over to the next page. Mr. Bedell is called to the stand. I quoted him once before because he came out to be in 1854, and I said when they interviewed John Taylor was being interviewed, and Bedell said, "Yeah, William Daniel's stories is pretty much correct. What happened outside the jail? Remember that?
Mhm.
This was his aide de camp. I
Okay.
mentioned him in one of the previous.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's called to the stand. Okay. Question: could Mr. Elliott have been in that company and you have not seen him? I think he might. Do you know where Mr. Elliott was the day before? I think I saw him with the troops near Warsaw. Hello, he's
boy.
done now, right? He's
Yeah.
Are
done.
you acquainted?
Are you acquainted with Mr. Elliott? I am. He's toast. This is where the
This
judge
guy can
goes,
ID him.
all
And
right.
he knows. And he knows
this
he was
guy's
there.
a murderer. He was one of the guys that killed Joseph Smith. They don't know that he was necessarily in the squad,
Right.
Yeah.
but he was one of the killers.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So then it goes down to, and they interview another Mr. Dixon, and they get the same story and all of that stuff. But in the end, guess what? He's arrested. So the last page,
Yeah.
guess who's the judge now? Daniel Wells. Daniel
Wells,
H.
yeah.
Wells.
Mhm.
Wells Building in Salt Lake's named after
Yep.
him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that where Wells Fargo came
Wells
from?
Fargo came.
Yeah.
All
I
this.
thought so.
Okay,
Yeah.
look. Down about halfway, this is his reading after everybody's, now he's reading the final verdict, right? Every exertion by the prisoner to clear himself from the charge has signally failed and gone to strengthen the evidence for the state. So, Elliott, you're toast. We know you were it. Okay. We regret that this thing has taken place in this community, meaning Nauvoo. But as the arrest of the prisoner has been made here and the examination had before us, we shall not flinch from the discharge of our duty. So he's going to throw the book at Elliott for sure. Okay. We know not what new light may be thrown upon the case on the final trial. So it hasn't gone to final trial. This is just a hearing, right? But enough has been proven here today to fix very strongly upon the prisoner the certainty of guilt.
Wow.
We therefore commit him to prison for trial at the next term of the circuit court. And we hold the witness to bonds for their appearance to give testimony in the case. Look at the guy who's recording, Lyman O. Littlefield, the guy who did the book on the martyrs. He's writing down the notes because he's a newspaper guy. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, now, So what do we know now? He was arrested for the murder of Joseph Smith.
So now he is
and he was
in
convicted
jail.
in Nauvoo, of all places. And there's the court document to prove it.
Wow.
And so what do they do now? Remember that we talk about, if you go back to Andreessen's little pamphlet, he says, and there was a jailbreak out in Jacksonville. Remember I told you about the jailbreak?
Yeah,
They
you did.
cut the
Yeah,
four guys.
Yeah, you did, yep.
They didn't take them right after them. They didn't take the four guys afterwards. They were arrested a little bit as they picked them up. This was the first arrest with Elliott. So then they went after James Belton. He was already in North Carolina. He was gone. Then they went after to try to find
Voorhees.
Voorhees. He'd
was
already gone to California.
To California.
Okay. So the only man he really had, so it says there was a jailbreak. So yeah, he was going to arrest them all, but he only got a hold of John Elliott, took him out to Carthage. He spent 2 days in Carthage. Then he took him out to Jacksonville, and the mob broke Elliott out of jail, and he never came back until 1849 when he married his wife. He left, went back to Hamilton again. I'm gone. I'm out of the state because I can't come back for trial.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I
got to wait till the saints are gone and there's a new sheriff and everything else.
By this time, the saints are starting to move out too.
Yeah.
But
here's the sad tale. As I'm reading through, and I'm going to end it. Here's the sad tale. It's so sad about our sheriff who was going after everybody.
Deming, yeah.
On the day of the trial, May of 1845. On the day of the trial. And Elliott's already escaped. He's already gone back. On the day of the trial, he goes in. He knows all these guys are guilty, and he's still seeking these other people, right? They set him up to big guy grabbed him by the neck. The sheriff, they grabbed him by the neck and tried to strangle him right before he went into court. This is Minor Deming. This is how he died. I'm telling you how he died. So they were literally going down the stairs and getting ready to go walk right into court. And Minor Deming was going to be one of the guys on the stand, and he was going to, okay? Mm-hmm. They couldn't let him do that. They couldn't let Minor Deming do that. So they grabbed him. One big guy grabbed him on the stairway, started scuffling with him, and Minor pulled out his gun, reached behind and shot the guy in the neck and killed him that was trying to strangle him.
Oh, wow.
So that way they arrested Minor Deming. Now they arrested the sheriff of the county.
For killing that guy.
For killing that guy right of the day of the trial.
In the courthouse.
In the courthouse. Right before they were going to go in and start the court on Joseph Smith's
This was the
murders.
wild stinking West.
Okay.
Man. Holy cow.
So now I have the letter of him writing his parents saying, I've been arrested for killing this guy who was trying to accost me. And I have the letter, word for word, of writing back to his parents.
From the jail?
Okay? From the jail. He's in his own jail, in Carthage jail. He's being held in his own jail while the trial's going on. Okay.
So they successfully
So he's not dead yet, but he's been
right.
He shot the guy.
So now
and everybody saw what happened, but it was self-defense.
Right.
So he's got to come to trial. So they put him in the jail. Now they have the trial where he's not present. He would have laid the law down on all the guys. Right?
Yeah, he would have.
So
I wonder who.
So now he's in the jail.
Who put that guy up to it?
I even have his name. I have his name. He was a doctor in town, and he was a big guy like you, big guy. And Deming was small. He was like 5'8".
Yeah.
And this guy tried to accost him, wouldn't let him to go into the jail. And Deming says, "Aren't you going to kill me? Strangling me?" So he reached down and pulled his gun out and shot him, and killed him. He didn't mean to kill him. It was self-defense.
You're right.
And he writes that. He says, Mom and Dad, it was self-defense.
Yeah.
And then there's another letter from Dad saying, see, you shouldn't have been sheriff. You should stay out of this crap and all that stuff, right? But he was a brave guy. He wanted to pursue these guys. So they put him in jail. So he's in jail now. Now he has to wait because now the court is all Joseph Smith and Hiram. So he has to wait till the next court term in October. So he's in jail during the hot summer and he gets sick. Okay, and they say...
And this is in Carthage?
In Carthage. He's in jail in Carthage. He has to stay in jail in Carthage. His family, they let his family live in the bottom like Stiegel did, the bottom of the jail.
Probably I imagine the bloodstains are still on the floor.
He can't leave, okay?
Yeah.
So he's in there and he gets sick. And now this is my personal opinion for everybody watching. In my personal opinion, he was poisoned. I think he was poisoned while he was in jail. Because guess what the death certificate said for Minor Deming? He died of a heat stroke. Well, hello. You don't think he's used to the heat in Carthage in the summer? He lived there his whole life. You don't think he's like, oh, he died of a heat stroke.
Well, either
I
either
don't
that or
think
they
that that's
withheld
true.
water or something, so he didn't have enough water or something.
I think they poisoned his food and he killed him. Because they knew that as soon as he went to trial, it was going to be self-defense. He would get out, and then he was going to go after Elliott and everybody else again. Right?
Yeah.
So they had to do away with the sheriff. Yeah. And guess who got elected the sheriff after Minor Deming died? Backenstoss. Remember Sheriff Backenstoss?
No.
Yeah, remember the Porter Rockwell?
Yeah. That guy.
Yeah. So this was the sheriff before Backenstoss. Minor Deming.
Can you imagine that?
Brigham Young sent him out in 1846. Remember? He was trying to get people back. So now it's Backenstoss, and they don't like him either because he's trying to track down the murders too. So finally, Brigham says, just go get the people. We're out of here. Bring them in here. We're done with the court stuff. And he's out there watering his horse. Porter's out watering his horses when Backenstoss comes over the hill. So one sheriff's already been killed. Now they're after a second one. These guys are like vigilantes that just don't quit. Right?
Well, it's a small town. They have their order. They do the things that they do, and they don't want anyone else to come butt in and
if you were correct from the previous things, basically that some of this was coming down from higher ups, even above Elliott.
So let's finish it.
Yes.
Here we go. Yeah. 5 minutes and we're out of here, people. Wow. But look. Okay. I got this out of the famous book that I've told you about before, called Junius and Joseph. Remember this one?
Yes, I do.
No one's ever going to be able to steal this with me because it's in my car all the time. No one's ever taking it. Okay? Yeah. So this is what tipped me off to go find all the documents. It's loaded with references to go look at this, go look at this, go look at this, and that's where I've gained most of my stuff. So thanks to Foister and
for putting it.
So I pulled this out of the back pages. It was referred to out of the notes. Look at this. What this is, people, the FBI, they call this a sociogram. Sociogram. And
hey, Brill, can you put that up on a closer camera there?
And Brill can put it up there.
You can see that. Well,
go ahead, Craig.
So it's all the tie-ins of all the people. And look who's in the very center. Henry Clay. So this is a sociogram of the man who I believe, now I'm going to admit it, I'm going to admit my opinion. I think Henry Clay's, the people who were working his campaign, killed Joseph Smith. And if you look at this sociogram, what do you see? You see John C. Elliott's name on there?
Yeah. Lower left-hand corner.
Down in the lower left-hand corner. Okay. So this is the same thing an FBI agent would do if he's looking for to find out who it was involved in Joseph Smith's murder. Look, they're all tied together. These people, those lines represent letters or personal conversations with these people to Henry Clay. So John C. Elliott was actually sending letters to Henry Clay telling him what was going on in Hancock County. And we have the letters too. So look at this. Who's above John C. Elliott?
Levi Williams, the guy that he went and
Levi Williams,
got those two guys from.
Remember Abraham Jonas? I mentioned the guy who was the third-degree Mason.
Yeah.
Who set Joseph Smith up? Remember that? There's his name, and he's the one who paid for the press, the expositor press. Look at that. He's directly connected to Levi Williams and to Henry Clay. There's papers between Abraham Jonas and Henry Clay, back and forth.
Now, John C. Elliott doesn't show him.
No, but look up
going
here.
Directly to Henry.
It goes up to Jacob Burnett. Who is Jacob Burnett? Look over where Jacob Burnett goes. He's in-laws with John McLean. You know who John McLean was? One of the guys that agreed with Henry Clay to not run for president. Henry Clay had convinced John McLean to drop out, and then I'll tell you what, Henry Clay, next time we'll let you be president and I'll quit. He was one of the clear the way for Henry Clay guys. Okay? One of the ones I find shocking is Sidney Rigdon.
I was just thinking that.
Sidney Rigdon's right down here. He knows Joseph Smith. He's a counselor.
Yeah. And he knows
he's his vice presidential candidate. You tell me something. Why, if he was a vice presidential candidate, why did he not make one single mention in any paper about politics of Joseph running for president if he was the vice president? He never said one word the whole time. I'm not accusing Sidney Rigdon of being a conspirator. I'm just saying it sounds fishy to me that if you're the vice president and you're on your way back to your home state to try and politic for President Joseph Smith's running for president, and you never make one word or never say have a campaign and never say one thing in the newspapers about Joseph Smith, to me that strikes me as odd, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say.
And so all these tie-ins. Okay. By the way, H. Dunleavy that's Sidney Rigdon's son-in-law. And guess where he lived? A block away from John C. Elliott in Hamilton, Ohio.
What about O.H. Browning?
Who is O.H. Browning? The guy that defended the guys that killed Joseph Smith in jail. Remember? He was the attorney from Quincy. O.H. Browning. Isn't it interesting that O.H. Browning was best friends with Henry Clay?
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I really believe, here it is. All the tie-ins, all the guys in our conspirator story are all tied right to Henry Clay. Now for the big bombshell. Dr. Southwick from Texas claimed he was wanted to sell land to Joseph Smith. And on his way up, he says, Joseph Smith, I'm sorry, I haven't got any documents to prove that I'm from Texas because my ship was wrecked coming up the Mississippi and I lost all my personal effects. Guess what? Not only did he offer William Daniels, and I have that now in the documents with Minor Deming, he was one of the ones who paid the $1,000 so William Daniels wouldn't show up in court for trial. Yeah. Southwick was a spy too. And the very first night Joseph spent in jail, when the 10 guys were down in the cell, in the dungeon, or not in the dungeon cell, but the debtor cell, first night, Southwick was there with them.
As an insider.
He was finding out everything that Joseph was talking about inside the jail. He was the inside the jail spy. And guess what? We find out that the letter he sent to Joseph Smith was not from Texas, saying, I want to come and help you move to Texas. Guess where it was sent? Henry Clay's post office mansion in Kentucky.
So it was addressed.
He addressed Joseph Smith saying, I'm coming from Texas. I really want to convince you to move there. But the mail was sent from
Kentucky,
a block away from Henry Clay's mansion, which is still there today. You can visit it in Kentucky. Wow. The post office just down the street. He was working for Henry Clay too. And he was the guy who was going to give the little book back to Stephen Markham. Don't worry, I'll let you have a copy of this. No, he left. And something else I found out. If you go to Texas, if he's from Texas, his name would be in the census for voting.
Yeah.
Right.
His name, not only is there not a Wall Southwick, there's no Southwick from Texas during 20-year period. He wasn't from Texas.
You double checked that already.
He wasn't from Texas. He was a spy too. So Elliott was a double spy. They're all working for Henry Clay. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to throw down the gauntlet.
Political machinations, man.
You want the gauntlet?
I do.
Okay, here it is.
Do it. Let's do it.
All you people out there, I don't care who you are. If you want to prove me wrong, you're going to have to get past this piece of paper because this is pretty brutal. This is Henry Clay's almanac. And what is the date?
1844.
What was the date Joseph was killed?
June 1844.
Okay, what was the almanac? I looked it up. If you were a politician, especially if you were a popular one.
Well, almanac is basically
they made an almanac.
The history of what's going on in that person's life.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
like a journal, but not written.
And I looked at the pages. I just brought you the front cover.
Yeah.
But I looked at the pages. I wanted to buy the book, but it was not for sale. It's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Because there's only like 5 of these left. And Henry Clay was a popular person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So someday I might get my hands on it. But anyway, I copied the front page because it's just shocker on the bottom of the page. It has the list of everybody who was writing letters to Henry Clay. Guess who one of the first guys is? John C. Elliott shows up right on the front page.
No.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. It says Greg.
Yeah. Who's Greg? Greg or Greg?
Greg. He was in charge of the newspaper in Fulton, Illinois during the martyrdom time. And guess what? It was a Whig newspaper. Just so happens to be a Whig newspaper. Hey, look down here. What does it say? Elliott.
Yep.
Greg and Elliott.
Greg
Those
and
are my
Elliott.
two Missouri guys that have been writing me letters. And see, what I want to do is I want to read the letters between Elliott and Clay.
Yeah.
But I can't. It doesn't have the whole book.
You don't have the whole book there?
Because
Oh,
I got to
man.
find a way to buy it somehow and read that.
Wow.
But this, I'm telling you, why would John C. Elliott be writing letters to Henry Clay
Right.
during the martyrdom year? If you go to his almanac in 1845, no mention of any of the martyrdom people. The martyrdom's over.
Mm-hmm.
And after the saints are all out in Utah, John C. Elliott goes, I'm safe now. I'm going to go back and marry the girl I love. He came back to his farm. And I have the date that he got married in Adams County. And you want to know the date he got married?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
I have the marriage document. John C. Elliott came back. Here it is. He married Sophia M. Nichols with a K, September 23rd, 1849. Where?
1849.
The Adams County Courthouse, which sits today right next to his farm.
So 5 years later.
Yeah.
So
He shows
feels-
up. So he
feels
goes
safe
home.
enough.
I'm out of here. I'm waiting for the saints. No one's going to come after me now. Back in Stos is dead. Mining, that guys tried to arrest. They're all dead. They're all gone. Only my conspiratorial friends now are all there. Levi Williams. I'm going to have a
And
nice
they're all
party with
gone,
him.
yeah.
I'm going to invite him to. He was at the wedding.
Who was
Levi Williams.
Was
Best man. Best man.
Oh, oh my gosh, man! These crooks
I'm
all
telling
get
you.
together.
But the killer
So
is
what-
this.
so whatever
the Clay
finished
letters
happening-
is the killer.
So whatever finished happening with him then? Or
With
did
who?
he end up
John
dying
C.
there?
Elliott?
Did he just
Yes,
live
I
out
can
his
tell
life
you.
there on the
I
farm? or
tracked
what?
his whole life to the very end. He went back, like I said, he was a guy who was just going after everybody. Brill talked about this in Hamilton, Ohio. He's arresting all of these. One was a black guy who was a slave escapee, and he was after him, and he tracked him down. And John C. Elliott actually climbed up in the. He couldn't get through the window or the door because they were all bolted down to the guy that was in the house. He climbed up in the attic of the house and came down through the roof on top of the guy and killed him.
Whoa.
That's what kind of guy John C. Elliott. He was just I'm going after this guy,
Totally a hooligan.
Joseph Smith. I'm going to pop him off. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm going to be a popular. Now he's a marshal. He's a marshal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, then the Civil War happens. Okay, he goes into the Civil War. Interesting enough, this is ironic to me. This is ironic. So during the Civil War in 1863, halfway through the Civil War, he goes to Kentucky. That's where he gets assigned to fight, because that's kind of where the Mason-Dixon line was.
Yeah.
Right.
He goes to Kentucky, and guess where he dies? Down the street from Henry Clay's place.
Oh, wow.
If that isn't ironic, I don't know what is.
Nah.
And here's how he died. It
Uh,
wasn't that he got shot from the south. No. He was wrestling a guy, a buddy of his, and he had an aneurysm and a stroke and died while he was in a wrestling match. And
Whoa.
that's how he died. He was sitting there wrestling a guy, they were throwing each other around.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he lay
Just
down
like-
and died. That was it.
God.
So this big brave guy who wanted to die during the Civil War ended up dying by getting a wrestling match a couple blocks down the street from the guy he was working for when he killed Joseph Smith.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it sounds like
Oh,
sounds
my gosh.
crazy, but
I know it sounds wild, but you can look it up. Go look up. Say, I think I have it here too. Where is it? Is it here? Yeah. Let's see. Right here. Moved to Hanover Township, Butler County. Okay, moved back to Hamilton. Served as a marshal in Hamilton.
Yep.
Served in the Civil War. Died in Taylorsville, Kentucky, Spencer County, which is the same place down the street.
From
But
And
you
I
can't.
had to
Henry
find
Clay's
out what
place.
happened. He died in a wrestling match.
You can't live a life like him and think that you're going to just walk off.
No,
have no repercussions from it.
I mean, when you hold in so much anger, so much resentment, so many lies. I mean, I don't know. Sounds like foo-foo or whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing that you build up all of this frustration. Your
Mhm.
body doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think he was just at a high level, So let's sum up the whole thing.
So did he have children with his wife?
I haven't found that yet. I
I
think
wonder what happened to his wife.
I'm
Anyway,
going to look
just-
more detailed into that.
I mean, we're getting into the weeds,
Yeah,
weeds of the
but
weeds.
let's sum the whole thing up.
It's
So
pretty amazing.
yes, there were
Wow.
4 shooters at the jail. The only one that we can that keeps reappearing like a bag penny is John C. Elliott. The rest left the state and never came back.
Right.
James Belton went to North Carolina. We now know
Voorhees went to
from someone who's got the
California.
documents about William Voorhees. He lied his whole way to California, and she has that that you sent me.
Yeah.
He lied his whole way, and she even says he was a liar to the end, right? So he's lied about who he was because he didn't want to be. I mean, California's not that far from Salt Lake. He didn't want that kind of a thing going on.
Yeah.
And then the last one was the one we had the least amount of, but he actually was one of the men who actually had to show up for trial, William Grover. But then, of course, we know at the trial they were all released. So I followed William Elliott because I had the most information, and this is where I find out. So William Elliott was not just one of the shooters. He then reappeared. He was arrested for the kidnapping, which was the 4th attempt at extradition to trade for Joseph Smith. And he was also rearrested for the murder of Joseph Smith and had a trial right in Nauvoo on the murder of Joseph Smith. John C. Elliott found out he was a double agent. Minor Deming couldn't believe that the deputy working underneath him was actually one of the guys he was trying to find. So then now after the word gets out, okay, now Elliott he gets taken by Minor Deming out to Jacksonville. And the mob breaks him out of jail because if they were to bring Elliott into the court after what they did in Nauvoo, all those guys would have been convicted.
Yeah.
There's no way. That's the cover-up we talked about. So they broke him out of jail, and then they had to do away with Minor Deming too, because Minor Deming now knows who this guy is.
Right.
Crap, he was my deputy sheriff, and I feel bad because I didn't even notice that's who he was, and he's one of the shooters at Joseph Smith that I'm trying to find.
Actually looking for. Right under my nose.
What a traitor, right?
Wow.
So they got to do away with Minor Deming.
Yeah.
So on the day before he goes into the courtroom, they get in a scuffle to happen. Going to strangle him right there, okay? And he pulls out a gun and kills the guy.
That he's fingered.
And then they throw him in jail, and then they let him lag in the heat in Carthage for 3-4 months. And he either dies of getting poisoned or he dies of heat exhaustion, and they get rid of him. And then now the story comes to an end because no one's going to go after Elliott. The Mormons, he's going to come back and marry his sweetheart. You know, he has a nice little farm down there by the other man that helped kill Joseph Smith, and they're all good buddies now. And the Saints go out to Utah, and the Saints have this story of, well, it had nothing to do with the political thing. It really had nothing to do. It was just a bunch of bad guys that did, and that's how degraded our story has become. Wow. But hopefully I've rekindled the real story of what happened, and now I'm writing a new book.
Okay, now tell us really quickly about your old book.
Okay,
not the old book.
So my old book is the one that has none of this stuff. It has Elliott in it. But just what I knew about Stephen Cohn and his admittance. Yeah. But it doesn't have any this depth in there because I didn't know about it. Yeah. Okay, and it's kind of like a lamb to the slaughter. Yep. I'll have all those.
We
copies
still have a
up
few copies of that. Yeah.
I have all.
You have a bunch.
I have all the leftover hardbound copies that I'm going to sell.
Okay. All right.
So I'm going to get rid of those.
All right.
It's now.
So come to the expo.
Yeah, you'll have it.
The last copies, because you don't have any after that, do you? Or
no, that's all I have left.
Yeah. So
it's out in softbound.
Get them now, or you won't get them.
So I'm going to do that.
But this new one. So
but the new book, the new book, and I've come up with a name for it. But it's going to be The Treachery of Assassins and Betrayal. Ooh. A second look at Joseph Smith's trial and martyrdom. That's what the title is going to be. And I'm going to have everything I presented you today. All these documents are going to be in the book. But I've got a special section too. So it's going to be my book, the original book. All of this in the middle is going to be added on. And then I'm going to tell about the 2 years, everything that went on to New. And that chapter is going to be called Nauvoo After Joseph. Everything that went on with all of them trying to get the Saints out. The story about Porter Rockwell and the shooting with Backens, all of that. is going to be the third chapter of the book.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
It's going to end with the saints crossing the river and they're gone.
They're
But trust me, Elliott's going to be all over in there.
So I have another question. I'm sure probably a lot of you are going to be asking the same question, and that is, so Elliott basically was acting for a political guy, right? He's running for office, which is Henry Clay. Just really quickly, so what happened to Henry Clay? So he was running for
Well, that's another sad
office.
story because remember I told you that Henry Clay, the another guy that was running, so there were several running with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Martin Van Buren was running again. He had no chance because Joseph Smith said he would never be reelected. So there was him.
Yeah.
There was John C. Calhoun from South Carolina, who eventually became one of the key men that started the Civil War in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then we have an interesting guy by the name of James K. Polk. He was the dark horse that nobody said was going to win in 1844, and guess who won? James K. Polk, the guy that they never thought would won the election in 1844, and Henry Clay went back to his little place in Kentucky, a broken man. Okay, and he died. I think Clay died. Look it up on your phone. I think he died just 6 or 7 years after Joseph Smith's martyrdom. He didn't last very long. He was so broken with losing the election 3 times.
Yeah.
By the way, he's the only man in history of this United States that's ran 3 times and lost all 3 times. Too bad for Henry Clay.
I remember reading that he
what comes around goes
he
around.
died broken.
Oh, it's too bad. But you know what? That's this will be the end of the story. This is the last podcast.
Wow.
I don't know how much more I can dig up, but to me, this was enough. There was just too much in here. I thought, I've got to tell Rod, I've got to tell Brill about this because
Well, and you started telling me about it.
because
Like,
I
oh my
started
gosh.
putting all the dots together with all of this, and I thought, oh my gosh, really? He's a double agent, and nobody notices it until Minor Deming gets killed. I mean, that's just a sad story.
I mean,
It
you were
really
telling
is.
me about how he was able to get a position right underneath Deming and be his deputy. And he's the
And I
guy
know that,
like,
and I know that because of the
when the-
conversation that occurred out in Iowa with Burns,
Yeah.
because they were talking together, and Elliott was out there trying to arrest somebody himself.
Yeah.
Right? He was across the river getting information, and he gave himself up.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're so proud of killing somebody, they don't know what they're saying. They go, "This is never going to get out. It's just a private conversation." And then I looked up and found that Burns knew Daniel Avery, and that's what nailed it.
So, oh yeah.
Oh, is this the same guy that we're talking about here who says that Joseph really was killed with 4 shots and that he knows for sure that he wasn't dead when he landed?
Emphasis on
Is this
nose.
the same?
Yeah.
Is this the same guy that my buddy Daniel Avery was? This is the same guy who's now a deputy sheriff who actually kidnapped my friends.
So he's gonna let him have it.
But Elliott didn't know the relationship with Burns and Avery. So you got to be careful.
If you're gonna be a bad
say.
guy, keep your mouth shut.
If you're going to be a bad, note to self: if you're a bad guy, don't be quiet.
Wow.
For real.
Don't be doing stuff like that. In the end, people that are guilty, they just convict themselves.
Always.
They always do.
Yep.
You can't run away from the law. It's going to come after you. It's going to find you. And very few people get away with it. Right?
All right. So I think the plan is that Bill said we would get these all digitized, put them into a document that you can actually access when this comes out, so people can actually pull up the original documents that we're talking about here, and actually follow through and be able to do that.
I wanted you guys to be a part of it.
Yeah.
This is so
because
huge.
I wanted this to be a panel to kind of to take us through the sequence, and the dates are important.
They are super
I mean,
important.
I wanted to bring a piece of
chronologically.
paper with just the dates, but I didn't get time to make it. So here's the date of this, and you can see they're just a few weeks apart from each other. And one date leads to the information on the next date and the next date and the next date. And then it leads to court cases.
Yeah.
Without those court cases, I wouldn't know. But you literally have, why is this stuff not told in the church? Why don't we have the
Nobody's done
court
a deep
cases? And here's something else, but now it might change, because guess what's in the new documents book of the Joseph Smith papers? These court cases.
Oh, okay.
So the game this is a game
Changing.
changer.
Wow.
It's a game changer. And I really believe that all this stuff with Joseph Smith papers is a game changer.
So last question for you. So where do you think, where would you like to see this go? What is it that
well, I'm going to cover it.
you would see?
I'm going to cover it. I've got information at the expo that shows more letters going from different people. Back and forth, and I've got time frames in there that'll be adding more on top of this. So there's surprises for the expo that I didn't. I have to keep a few things.
You hear that?
So
there you go.
So I want people to come because I've got a few other surprises. Plus, I've got a beautiful pictorial of this whole thing. Yeah. So it'll make more sense if they're not watching the podcast, it'll make sense even if they haven't watched the podcast.
Yeah. I think that this is, for me, this is one of the most important topics that we could be talking about. There's so much confusion when it comes to church history. And then you ask the question, because I asked the same question, why don't we talk about this in the church history circles? But it's just so much. And look at you, like you've gone deep and you've been tipped off by some people to say, hey, go look here, go look there.
Yeah, it wasn't. Thanks to Brian Andresen, I wouldn't have even discovered the whole minor Deming thing in here without him. And I started going, wait a minute. Started putting dates together with Deming, and I thought, And then I started finding Illinois versus John C. Elliott. I mean, the guy is a crackpot. He's been arrested twice in Illinois, and he's a sheriff from Ohio. He's a deputy marshal from Ohio.
How do you go from being a kidnapper to a sheriff?
That just goes to show you the vigilante times of the 1840s.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff would never go today, but in the 1840s, if you could disguise yourself by going a state next door and nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
You're not in the paper. But if you start getting arrested and there's court documents, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Then there's a trail.
Yeah. Then there's a trail.
Wow. Well, do you have any other final comments then you want to make? Or
no, I don't know.
To answer my own question from the last thing there, I think this would be an awesome movie. This would be a documentary that would just be awesome.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Showing all the different,
and by the way,
I
didn't read to you in those court pieces. I left it out, but we could have read it. They describe John C. Elliott. A man describes what he looks like, what he's wearing. So this is exactly how you would really picture an evil person. I mean, the way they describe him: tattered clothes, missing teeth.
Scrapper.
Shay?
Yeah.
He had one of those long coats like Porter Rockwell wore around. And it was green. Of all colors, it was green. And I don't know how you get a green overcoat. Yeah. But anyway, he describes it in here. And so I'm trying to, I would like somebody to draw a picture. I'm going to have my son, who's an artist, maybe take this and draw this guy for me.
Yeah.
You don't have to have an artist. You can have that done in about 20 seconds with AI.
It's like,
I mean, just imagine.
Wouldn't that be cool though to have a movie?
It would be amazing.
We could have a movie and let me direct it.
Yeah.
We could have a movie and come with my ideas and show the real. So now to debunk what's his face's movie, I can't. So I shouldn't use what's his face.
What's his face? Yeah.
But anyway, if I could create a movie that was in theaters, maybe Angel Studios or something. And show and I can prove the documents by what happened.
Yeah.
And really show. I mean, it would be quite a lengthy movie.
Well, this completely and totally debunks the film Who Killed the Prophet Joseph Smith, right?
Yep.
Or, no, not prophet. Who killed Joseph Smith? Because they don't believe he's a prophet, right?
I mean, like I said before, I bring more and more documents. They're just getting madder at me all the time. Just getting more upset.
Yeah.
Don't kill the messenger. It's the message.
I'm just a researcher, but I kind of feel like I've got a little weight off my shoulders now. When I woke up this morning, I thought, okay, after today, I think a lot of weights because everything that I really wanted to tell people about the martyrdom is now been told. It's all out there now.
But now we just got to.
I really don't have anything else left. I really don't have anything else to really go look for. It's like it's the end of the Indiana Jones movie. I don't have anything left. Yeah. I'm going home and putting my gun in my briefcase, and I'm going to relax. And that's where I'm at right now. Right, Brill? I mean, that's kind of how I feel like today.
Yeah.
Right now, while I'm sitting here, I feel like, okay, this was my story that I needed to tell, and I think it's over now. I feel like a big weight off my shoulders.
Thank you for letting us be a part of helping this getting out there, because I just think this is such an important thing that people have been so many people have had their testimonies damaged because they get bad church history. And we've had church historians who've altered things and so forth to try to make to take Joseph Smith down off his pedestal, the whole swearing elders thing and all this kind of stuff that was going on. People don't even know about that stuff.
You're never going to succeed at getting Joseph off a pedestal.
Nope.
It's not going to happen.
And if you think you do, you're not only are you highly mistaken, but you're going to be finding out in the next life.
And what does it tell you about a man who forgives so freely?
Yeah,
he must have spent some time around Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah,
you think
a man that can forgive people that want to kill you. That's the kind of person Joseph Smith really was.
Kind of reminds me of that guy that hung on a cross.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
We're coming up on Easter. Yep. There's no man that ever gave more. And there's the old scripture that nothing is better than laying your life down for your friends.
Yeah.
So
greater love hath no man.
Man, that he layeth his life down for. That was Jesus, right?
Yeah.
That was the Savior.
Yeah.
And he loved his enemies. He loved his enemies.
Because Joseph Smith could have been long gone.
Yeah,
because he knew in advance. He knew he was going like the lamb, like your book says, like a lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah.
You know, he could have been and headed out to Salt Lake already, but he stayed there because of his friends. I can picture the Savior
when he arrives at he had a last dream. It's called Joseph Smith's Last Dream.
Mm-hmm.
I have it on my wall at home. And maybe you haven't heard of that. I have to tell you that sometime about Joseph's last dream. He told it on the way to Carthage.
Yeah.
And then W.W. Phelps had it printed up, and it's called Joseph's Last Dream. And he dreamed of himself, and he falls off a boat, and he tries to swim, and him and his brother all of a sudden start walking on the water. This is Joseph and Hiram. They start walking on the water. They don't sink. Mm-hmm. And they look behind them, and they can hear somebody hollering from behind, and they find out it's Samuel, who died a month later after the martyrdom. He wants to go with them. And they lock arms.
Mm-hmm.
And they come ashore, and Jesus Christ is standing there to greet all three of them. Wow. That was his last dream. Yeah. You can look it up. It's called Joseph's Last Dream.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's the story, right? Joseph was a true prophet, and I know all these details, but it's such a treacherous thing. I mean, and this is going on in our government today. We can read in the Book of Ether. It's going on today. But
we don't think that our government, I think there's a lot of people who don't think that this kind of thing happens, but look at the intrigue that's going on here with Henry Clay.
It is. And it's all comes down to, like the Book of Mormon says, judges. You notice how the judges are stopping everything Trump's trying to do. Mm-hmm. Every time he does something, and it's not against the Constitution at all, but they're going to throw a crank into it.
Other presidents have
it's
done
judges.
it.
Judges are wicked. Not all of them, but a lot of them today are, and it's no different. And they were back in Joseph Smith's day.
Well, the Book of Mormon actually is one of the greatest historical examples of how the judges were the ones that actually
It's a harbinger for our day.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Totally.
If you want to read about the future, just read the Book of Helaman and 3rd Nephi. You've got it
right there.
Anyway, I don't want to go any further, but
yeah. But just last couple of quick things. I brought these out here. This is these were given to me by a patriarch in Arizona some years ago. But this is the copies of the death mask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is Joseph here. You can tell the difference between these two here. There's Joseph, and this is Hiram here. You want to point out a couple of things on Hiram?
Well, you can see right here on the left side of his nose. There's kind of like some bumps and wadding there. That's because that's where he was hit, and they had to, in order to stop the bleeding, they pushed it full of tissue, and that's what that is. And then they did the masks over the tissue, and that's why you have that.
Yeah,
on the side of his nose. Yeah.
When the Community of Christ found the two testators' bodies, basically after the fact, one of the other ways that they knew that it was Hiram is because the whole back of his head was missing.
Yeah.
So when you have a 58 caliber ball go through your nose and hits the back of your head, it's just going to blow the.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. So when they buried him, the only thing that was holding all those bones together. I'm an anatomist. I do cadavers and all that. It's kind of gross, but anyway, that's what I do in my. But anyway, so when all the tissue, disappears.
Yeah.
Rots away.
Yeah.
Then nothing to hold the bones together. They just fall out. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So
Joseph Smith, basically, that's his death mask. Now, a couple of things, since you have some expertise, and we don't want to get into a whole other thing about this, but you deal with cadavers and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how accurate, after how many hours and so forth would the death mask have been? Would it have been
I can tell you that.
close?
Now here's the difference. Today we do embalming.
Right.
Back in Joseph's day, there was no embalming. There was no embalming until 1859, which was the year before the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So before embalming, it only took about 72 hours and the people were unrecognizable. Okay.
So all the muscles
for the most part,
relax.
everything, even the nose will move, the mouth will drop. And that's why in the olden days, they had to actually crank the jaws up with something underneath, tissue around this way to hold the jaws up. So embalming. So today people look real and in fact, they've actually dug coffins up. My cadavers that I work on, I mean, we have to take the skin off the face. We have to skin the face because we have to show all the facial muscles. And I do that at school. But these people, when I get them at the college, they're six months past.
Right.
And they look the same.
Pretty normal.
They look pretty normal. Yeah. Because they're the embalming. Now, if they, in Joseph's day, when they had the embalming, there was no embalming. They had to burn tar and sugar and everything all day long while the people were coming through the procession.
Yeah,
we know that they said that Hiram, because he'd been hit in the face, especially by the end of the day, they said he was unrecognizable. The people coming through line that came through the last few hours couldn't recognize. Joseph was still pretty natural, but they couldn't recognize Hiram. His face was so bloated.
Yeah.
So
the bruising would
so
go on
embalming
and so forth,
changed the world today. Today, they've done, FBI have dug up bodies 2-3 years. Now they put them in a cement vault, and we have a airproof coffin and all of that stuff. They've opened coffins and they look the same as the day they had the funeral.
Yeah.
Several years later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I've heard that the death mask may be just a little bit different because of the. I guess the death mask was made within a day and a half or 2 days.
Yeah, it was literally made within 24 hours.
Close, yeah.
24 hours after the marterdom, and so they think that it's pretty accurate.
Swelling and going that goes
not
on
much
there,
in Joseph. I think with Hiram there would have been.
Yeah.
But now we have the supposed new photograph that they found in the watch locket, right?
Yeah, well, there's been several of them that have been talked about. We actually had one of the guys that actually has done
Curtis Weber
computer stuff where he's done
Kurt
a
Weber
computer thing. I think it was was it him?
Yeah, Curtis Weber is
because you were there at our.
He spoke at your expo a couple times. Curtis Weber, yeah. I've
Do you like that?
been in contact with.
Yeah.
So I know Curtis Weber, and I've also a good friend of mine is Dan Larson. The man who found the watch locket. In fact, I talked to him last week on the phone.
Okay, was that right?
For quite a while. Yeah, and he gave me a picture that I'm going to show at the expo.
Okay.
And it's actually the death mask over the top
of an AI generated face. Yes, and it's
that's one of my pictures. I had to ask him, but that's one of my pictures I'm going to have at the expo during my presentation.
Well, I can tell you that
there is some comedy in my presentation too.
Yes.
There is some comedy. I mean, it has a little bit of comedy.
It's not all blood and guts, as they say. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess one of the reasons why I personally like that is because I'm hoping that someday when I get to the other side, that's one of the first people I want to see, because I feel like that has been one of my things is defending the prophet Joseph Smith. Because he's been under attack from within in his day and from without, and it's been happening again.
Me too. I want to meet him. Guess who else I spoke to a couple weeks ago? Mr. Deming, who's going to be there too. His mother is Gracia Jones.
Yeah, Gracia Jones.
So I spoke with him on the phone for quite a while. David Deming. I spoke with him on the phone. We're good friends now too.
Yeah,
because I've been calling people during all of my stuff, and I happened to run into Dan Larson myself.
Yeah.
Dan's a great guy. I was told he was. I know I'm not going to say that, but I said, oh, Dan won't want to talk to you. Don't talk to him. He's a real private person. I call Dan Larson. He's one of the funnest guys to talk to.
Yeah.
Very kind, very nice, very very
kind of
nice.
like you.
And we had a good conversation. I said, Dan, you could have found, and should I say this? Anyway, I know some information that's coming out in June about the photograph.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think I have the liberty to say it. I don't think Dan would want me to say it yet.
Okay.
But it's big.
Cool.
Wait till June. It's Martyrdom 27th.
Yeah.
Wait till June. This is gonna.
It's going to be presented on the day of the
This is
martyrdom?
huge. This is giant.
Anniversary?
On the picture, on Dan Larson's picture.
Really?
This is big.
Okay.
Okay. Latter-day Saints are going to have to pull their pants up and put their boots on and tie their shoes and take a big gulp because the proof is in the pudding with what's coming out in June. Okay.
Right. So you have it here first.
I'm not going to
So
say,
yeah.
I'm not going to say
Okay.
anything more because I don't know. I
So
told
you're-
Dan
but
that
you're
I wasn't
convinced
going to
that-
say anything,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but just be prepared.
Yeah.
I told Dan Larson, I said, Dan, this was the greatest find in history next to my stuff. No, but I said, this is the greatest find in history.
Yep.
Okay. So
All right.
anyway,
Well, listen, we got to thank you again.
Yeah.
We sure appreciate your willingness to come out and share this information, Craig. It's been amazing.
and sorry, Brill, it always
To
goes
do
longer
that.
than normal.
And it's went a little bit long, but you know what?
Yeah.
The other ones were too. So it's completely within parameters.
Yeah.
But we are done.
Yeah.
You might not. My
Yeah.
last name's done, right? You'll
Done.
probably never see me again unless I get
No,
invited
we
back
hope
by
so.
one
We
of
hope
you.
we
so.
wanna
Yeah.
see you
Yeah,
again.
We want to see you.
This
In
doesn't
fact,
end.
we want to see your movie with you in it.
Oh
talking
yeah,
about it. There we
I
go.
you know who
So-
I would play? Captain Dunn. Remember him?
Yeah.
He was the guy who
Your kid Big Dunn.
who told Joseph
Dunn.
out on the prairie to go back and grab the stuff. Yeah, I think I would be him. I'd have to grow a beard like
All
Brill,
right.
but
Yeah, there you
and
go.
it'd be all white, so I don't know if that would work.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, if you've enjoyed, again, just the extreme deep dive that we've been doing here with Craig, it's been amazing. So we are done.
Yeah, I think we're finished.
You're done. I know you're done.
Yeah.
And I'm about done. Brill, you done? Okay.
Brill's been done a while.
So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button there, and become part of our YouTube channel. Also forward this to people who you think might be interested, or if you know anybody who's had any interaction with or has sympathy for this whole baloney film about who killed Joseph Smith, send them to the playlist. Right, Brill? Is that what we need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Send them to the playlist here with Craig Dunn and debunking that whole thing. So. We want to appreciate that. We want to thank our sponsor, Cardio Miracle, and also Legacy Tours and Travel for their sponsorship of these programs. If it wasn't for them, we'd be having a harder time to do this and be able to keep doing these things. So we're excited about that. Legacy Tours and Travel. We have the 3 tours. If you haven't already heard of those, you should come with it. The Sacred Histories American Covenant Tour. Probably going to be hard to get a seat on that one at this point, but you might want to check. Iceland by Land and Sea. We do have some seats still available for the Iceland tour, which is going to be phenomenal. It's like almost like the Garden of Eden kind of thing. It's been almost untouched by humans. It's one of the most pristine areas, but it's also one of the most geologically interesting and awesome places on the earth. And then that's in August 9th to the 22nd. And then we have the Book of Mormon Chronology Tour, which is my favorite Book of Mormon tour, which is basically following the Book of Mormon as it proceeds from the landing of Lehi on the Gulf of the Gulf of America to
That's what we call it now, right?
Yep, and all the way up through to we end toward the top of the Hill Cumorah in New York, overlooking the final battlefield. So I want to give a big shout out to Legacy Tours and Travel. Maybe sometime we'll get you to come on a tour with us.
My wife wants to go back to Palmyra now. They've redone the whole hill, so
yeah,
I want to go back there.
Yep, it's very, very different.
I've been there, but my wife.
And also, just as another little aside here, and that is that are you going to be in Nauvoo this coming summer?
Doesn't look like it.
No.
And I've got
if you didn't go last year, then you blew it.
I've got people from Montana and Idaho and California. They're all mad at me. They're calling me on the phone. One of them actually called me and chewed me out. So, but anyway,
how dare you?
I just said, hey, it doesn't look like it this year because I've kind of turned it over to Shane now, and my wife. We're probably going to be moving to Springville, so. We're going to be in the process of moving.
Oh,
because I was hoping you were going to say Spring City. I sold my house in Manti.
Okay.
We already got a full price offer on the house in Manti,
okay.
and I'm probably going to be
Going to Springville.
calling it quits here too at the college in a year and a half or so. And yeah, so I just got my tenure award last week.
Hey,
is that right? Wow.
But it's like I got my tenure, now I'm leaving. Okay, anyway, but
well, thank you.
So that's I might be in the move to Springville. So we have to wait for the person that bought our house to sell their place in Monroe.
Yeah, have a contingency
Richfield.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll be gone to Springville. So
that's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for your being here and being a part of this and having the interest in Joseph Smith and this whole saga really that's been going on that we've been.
And thank you everybody out there. And if you have comments, I'll respond to the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always do.
So I'll respond to the comments. If you have a question that maybe we didn't quite understand, I'll try and answer your question. And I will respond to your comments if you ask me a question.
Well, don't be a stranger.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Keep the faith.
Yeah.